Whether you're a Class 5 rafter or just looking for a couple of laughs, these two have you covered. Welcome to Aaron and Zach's Better Than Mediocre Rafting Show.
Well, happy Friday, Steve.
Happy Friday. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. How are you? I think
Good.
Aaron's going to join us here in a second. So we'll hopefully have Aaron along. But we have a massive show today. We have a lot to go over. And before we do, I just want to share a couple of quick things. One, please like, subscribe. We have people that are members that pay per month, which we appreciate. It helps us buy equipment. I have some equipment to share that I'm excited about to share that I bought with money from members so we could talk about it in a new section, which you may not have heard about yet, Steve, called Zach's Gear Corner.
Oh, nice.
I was a little jealous about Steve's mental angle, so I had to create Zach's Gear Corner, sponsored by River Hardware, by the way. We now have a sponsor.
Okay, good. The angle in the corner.
The angle in the corner. And today we're going to go over a new best practices questionnaire. Last week, Aaron and I kind of went through all the results of the last one. And a lot of people had issues. When I say a lot of people, I mean Aaron and some people had issues with some of the way the questions were written, which is valid.
Yes.
And so when you write those questions, it's really hard to write. And so you do your best and you don't think about things. And now that I had time to get feedback, I've made 2.0 of the best practices questionnaire. We're going to go through today, and you guys can give me more feedback in the show, and then we'll release the new questionnaire to the world. I think it's pretty good. And I think that's all the things I wanted to go over. I think what would be fun. Well, should we start with the Zach's Gear Corner or Steve's mental angle today?
I'm ready for the gear corner. I want to see the throwback cam.
Okay. Well, for those of you that don't know, I tried to set up a throwback cam outside where I had different cameras. I tried doing this and it crashed the whole system. That's probably why Aaron's not here right now, because I think I overloaded StreamYard. So we're not going to see I'm going to work on the throwback cam for another week, but we're going to get to that. So I want to introduce Zach's Gear Corner. I don't have a fancy intro like you do, Steve. So I want to introduce Zach's Gear Corner, sponsored by River Hardware, a one-stop shop to get about 6 things. Please visit riverhardware.com for some throwbags and some t-shirts. Okay. Today I want to talk about, Aaron and I have been talking about throwbags forever, and you've probably been a part of some of these ridiculous conversations. What would you say is your favorite throwbag right now?
Oh, I like the old school downriver one, the big heavy rope.
The orange one.
The orange one. That's the easiest one for me to throw. Yeah.
Isn't it called downstream?
Okay, yeah, maybe. Thank you. Yes, could be.
Do you underhand throw or overhand throw?
Depends on the situation, but mostly underhand, like when I'm demoing it. But sometimes I've done overhand throws.
Do you think it's the easiest for you to throw because you have the most practice with it?
Yes. Yeah. But I bet that if I'm probably as accurate overhand as I am underhand. The only time I would throw it overhand, the times I've thrown it overhand is when I was maybe waist deep in water. Like when I couldn't do an underhand throw and I had to do the overhand throw. Like it wasn't because it was a further distance. It was because the underhand throw was not an option.
Okay. I switched to overhand and I've been practicing overhand. I'm much more accurate now overhand than underhand.
Really?
Yeah, underhand actually feels a little bit awkward to me now. And because it's like throwing underhand pitch versus overhand pitch. Like I can now, with practice, zing it to somebody versus just throwing it up in the air and hoping it lands where I want it to.
Okay. There's also, I think that the underhand throw is easier to catch. So it's a 2-part process.
Mm-hmm.
And the object is to make that connection. If you're throwing it overhand, it's better for you, but harder for the person catching it.
Interesting. I haven't thought about that.
Are
you trying to get the bag to the person or the bag past the person, the rope to them?
I think if you're throwing overhand, you might, if I'm throwing underhand, I'm more likely than not trying to land that bag on that person. So they
The
can
bag
catch
itself. So they catch the
the actual
bag.
bag. Yeah.
Even though you tell them, don't grab the bag, grab the rope.
Okay, but going back one step, I don't know that I have never used a throw bag to rescue a swimmer in a live, real situation. So I've practiced doing that. I've gone to swiftwater rescue classes and done that. But I've never actually had to do that in real life situation. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. It's just never happened for me. I've never been in that situation. So all of my throw bagging has been to a static point. Someone stuck on a rock in their raft or out of their raft.
Oh, so you want to get, they're standing there waiting for it.
They're standing there waiting.
And they just, the bag in their chest really helps them grab it versus a rope flying past them. They have to kind of move their hands around trying to get it.
And when I've thrown in swiftwater rescue classes, underhand or overhand, I've tried to land the bag beyond the person. And so the rope lands right in front of them. And then I don't think the underhand or the overhand method would matter. I think you're delivering a rope to them. And I think that if you can throw that overhand rope and zing it really, really accurately, and you're aiming beyond the swimmer or even the static person, you're fine. But having a throw bag coming flying at your face is a little intimidating when it's coming over
really fast,
right?
like being
yeah, it's easier to hit an underhand softball pitch than an overhand hardball pitch. So I think there you would probably recognize that situation and say, oh, I'm not going to throw overhand here because it's not a very far distance. I don't want to knock that person off of the rock or off of their boat. So I'm just going to underhand toss it to them. Yeah, that's the one that I have the most experience with.
This is a classic. Like I've used this for a lot of my career. It's a good bag. A lot of people know I really don't like the NRS bags. This is definitely superior, I think, to the NRS bags. The rope in this one isn't as good as the NRS rope, though. I'm gonna say it's not as good. It's close. But some of my issues with these bags are. Let me try to find the NRS one really quick if I have it right here. Hold on 1 second. No, I took it outside. But anyway, that has a flappy thing at the bottom that flaps around, and I feel like there's just a big. I don't like how they dangle. They're meant to dangle. Although I know that that's nice. Aaron's made the point for tying onto an oar frame. That's kind of what you need.
That's like that's where I use. That's how I use a throw bag.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this a lot. You know, I'm not a fan of the NRS bag. I feel like this throw bag, the downstream one, is a bit dated. And I feel like they could be more modern. So I've been looking into this, and I found this throw bag from a company called River Station. I'll make myself big so everybody can see. And it's just me Googling, searching the web. And it's a company, I think, based in Colorado. I really like that they have the end like this. It's flush.
Yep.
I think we should be doing that more like this Coca-Tap bag has it instead of the dangly knot that's hanging down. When they tied this top part, the NRS one comes as a loop. And so there's a place to get a hand stuck theoretically. So they were smart by having it be separate. And I actually haven't opened this up. I just ordered it. It came today for a Gear Corner. I think I really like the over the top, and it's really like secure the top. It doesn't even let you really dangle it much. Like some of the throw bags dangle a lot more than this. This one's pretty tight on here. And if it hangs in the frame, it's not hanging on the buckle. Like if the buckle's on top, then we're going to break the buckle because it's going to hit the metal. And just opening it up, this is a bungee, by the way. I'm not sure if I like the bungee. It just has nice rope in here. And it's a good thick rope you can grab. It's not there's more room than I want in here. I wish it was packed a little tighter. I don't like it when it's super loose, but it's not as loose. If you look inside, it's not as loose as the NRS bag. The NRS bag is super flappy.
Okay, let's go back. Why do you like it tighter?
It zings out fast. It zings out better. Like when you throw it, if it's kind of sloppy in here, it doesn't come out as accurately.
Okay.
And I can see you're like questioning that for sure. But when what I'll do is I'll go out and throw a bunch of them at a time. And you can just, when it's packed in tight, not like so tight you can't stuff it in, it just sort of unfurls really nicely. When it kind of has to fight its way through all this flappy stuff, at the beginning, it doesn't come out as accurately.
Okay.
And I think this is actually, I have their website here. Let me see.
What kind of a knot do they have in the end of that?
That's actually the first thing Michael opened it up today when we got it.
It's just a jam knot.
It's just a jam knot, which I think I'm not a. I mean, I think people say it's nice to have a knot at the end, so if you don't let it go. There's a lot of debate on this topic, which would be a good question, actually, for the best practices questionnaire, because some people want a loop already, so they can clip it onto something. Some people want a free rope, so this doesn't, excuse me, get caught in rocks. This is an interesting thing where, like, it's not going to slip past your hand, but it's not a loop either.
Right.
I've never even thought about this as an option. Of course, you can take the knot out too. You don't have to have the knot in there.
Or you can put in a loop.
Yeah, you can choose to do whatever you want.
Right.
I've never even thought about this as a possibility for the end, because it's not as, I mean, is it bigger or smaller than a loop?
What's that?
Is it bigger or smaller than a loop? Like is this more likely to get caught in rocks underwater?
Oh, I think that would be insignificant consideration.
Like you're not worried about it getting caught in rocks.
No.
I have talked to a person who got caught in a rope, a throw bag underwater and almost died. And so they're very against this. But I think a lot of the swiftwater professionals, not all of them, but a lot of them are saying this is a bad idea. But we're talking about the likelihood is probably super low.
No, we talked about that the last time I was on, and I started with the clean lines concept. Like, I thought knots at the end of the throw bags were never to be done. Now I'm feeling like I want to have that knot there. I don't mind having a loop makes the most sense to me.
So when you throw it, it doesn't come out of the rope doesn't come out of your hand. Like you have something to grab at the end.
At the end.
Yep. So just a couple things about this throw bag. I like it's 65 feet, which I'm starting to think is a good length for most people.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's actually long a little bit. Most people only throw a bag 50 feet with some accuracy, and 65 feet gives you some room to like put some 5 feet on the ground and just have a little bit of extra thing. And it says quality 3/8 inch floating rescue rope. I like 3/8. It's easy it feels good in the hands.
Yep.
3,200 is pretty strong, although that's not a big deal to me. But I'm going to say, I mean, just from like the few minutes I've had this and researching it, I'm a big fan of it. If we're going to go with a throw bag to clip on my oar boat, I feel like this is the best one out there right now because it's good, strong rope. It's 65 feet. It has this little thing at the bottom. And this fabric, it's just a really high quality fabric.
I wonder what the rationale behind the elastic drawstring is.
Yeah, I feel like that's the one thing I'm worried about. I feel like it's going to stretch and wear out. I'm not a fan of the elastic, actually. We should email them and ask them. I feel like this is going to get stretched out and this is going to be super long over time. It doesn't seem as strong as just rope. But maybe it's because it moves. It's like more, there's less friction between the rope and the bag when you pull it tight. I don't know. So anyway, this is
Zach's looking bag, yeah.
This is
That's
Zach's
the size I like.
Yeah, I know it's a good size. For throwing overhand, it's hard because it's such a thick diameter. So
when
like
you throw overhand, is that how you hold it?
Yeah, I throw it like a football. And I've been doing a lot of practice throws lately. It's just I've gotten pretty good at just placing it where I want it. Like not perfect, but pretty good. When I have to grip it this big, it's a little harder to throw accurately.
Yeah.
Whereas like the thinner bag, like this size, is a little easier for me to throw accurately. So I like this for an overhand throw, but I don't mind this that much. And I if it was me, I would. There's extra space here. I mean, there's like 2 inches of extra space in the top that they could. I would just make it thinner so it fills the bag. So I could throw it overhand if I wanted to.
When I throw overhand, I fling it.
You do. So I was talking to Connor about this the other day.
Pinch it with 2 fingers and
Like
Get that? Yeah.
Connor was calling it the trebuchet.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
So when I threw the NRS bag, Aaron's here.
Or I'll sort of hand grenade it.
That
one. Yeah.
Welcome, Aaron. We're in the middle of Zach's Gear Corner right now, and I'm showing off this new throw bag that I got from a company I think you'll like called River Station.
What other kind of stuff do they make?
I'm hearing you. My system's all screwed up today, and I'm pulled out a different computer. So,
all right, we'll do your best to fall on.
What other kind of stuff do they make? They look like they've got put a lot of thought into that. Taking that original downriver, or whatever we called it, downstream throw bag, and adding that 10, 15, 20% of little tweaks or improvements that, progress 2.0.
I mean, they have cool colors. I wanted the pink, but it was sold out. So some like options in fun. Let's see what else they have. They have thwart bags. I haven't looked that much. Like, cool looking thwart bags. But it looks like they sell, like backpacks. I think they're just sort of getting into some things. Surf and sup. Quick release. Ooh, cool. Interesting. Apparel. Ooh, maybe we'll get our hat. Look at those hats.
Yeah.
Oh, just stuff. So I don't know. Aaron, I bought this throw bag because you were saying how much you love the NRS throw bag and how you need to clip it into. Oh, we just lost Aaron. His computer's a mess today. We'll get back to that. Let's get to some comments really quick, then we can move on out of Zach's Gear Corner. People want to talk about permits they didn't get. Sure. Yeah, I don't think I want to get into that today. And then Aaron says, oh, yeah, the other thing we sell at the River Hardware store are Cobra Orlocks. But I want to be very clear, they're used ones. They're ones that I bought for our guides, and then they didn't like them. And so they've just been in a box for like 10 years. So I have a bunch of used Orlocks. Thanks for the reminder there, Aaron. Picked up one of these throw bags. Yeah, they're not. They feel better. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Throw over the person, then you only have to worry about side to side accuracy. Yep. I throw back 2 people with 1 throw the day after my rescue class. That's cool. Yeah, that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
I've seen people throw further underhand than overhand because you can fling it easier by holding open the top of the bag over the top strap. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mentioned this. So I started to say this, and then Aaron came on. We were throwing the NRS bag, and I was trying to throw it overhand like this, and I could only throw about 45 feet of the rope because it's so heavy and because it's like a flappy top. But Connor took a trebuchet attack, like we call this a trebuchet, and he laid out the whole 75 feet. So this way is definitely, but he wasn't very accurate. Like he got the length out.
Yep.
But so I feel like I'm super accurate like this personally, but I'm less accurate with other techniques. But if I need just distance, the flinging trebuchet works really well.
I think the important thing is everybody's going to be comfortable throwing it their own way.
Yeah.
Figure out what that is and practice that one.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah. And I think, and the other thing is everybody's going to have different technique that works better for them. Cause I have an arm for football. Some people don't have that arm. It's
you have an arm for football.
I'm pretty good at football, Steve.
Really? Did you play in high school?
I did not. I mean, we played like in the park, but like you should see me playing at football. You should. Hey, Steve, I know you think it's funny. You see me hoop it up a little bit too. I remember back in the day we did some hoops.
Yeah, you should. You should throw your throwback like a Stephen Curry jump shot.
I can't throw that way. I notice some people can't. They just don't have their arm. Just doesn't do that. Is technique, but also different bags. Like some people need a lighter bag, like this Cocotat one, because they don't have the physical strength.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. So it's like finding your technique and the bag you like, and that's kind of why I'm spending so much time on this, to give as much advice as I can virtually about different throwing techniques and different bags to consider based on people's personal needs. And the sidearm throw, yeah. Yeah, I mean the sidearm, that accuracy is a problem. Like you can whip it around like this, but where overhand you send it where you want it, sidearm gives it some angular momentum. There's angular momentum involved that really makes it hard to be accurate.
Did you play any sports in high school, Zach?
Steve,
Come on.
do you already know the answer? Are you trying to mess with me?
I think it's the mental angle. We need to get
We're
to
not.
know,
Hey, we're not
get
there
to know
yet.
the host. Get to know the host a little better.
I was in academic Olympics, and that's it. And
Of course you were.
And chess club. That was it. But
no athletics.
No, I lived too far from my school. Like it was a half an hour drive, and I had to take the bus. So I couldn't stay after school.
Home.
I had to go home on the
after
bus.
Sports bus home.
I played tennis because my friend who lived near me played tennis too, so I could get a ride home with him. But I didn't play like fun, cool, organized sports like most people. Like a lot of people have the opportunity. I played racquetball after school sometimes.
But the football skills you really picked up at the park.
No, I think they're I honestly think they're natural. I didn't like train. I just somebody give me a football and I can throw it. And I've seen that with people who throw throw bags. Like I've decided that I like throwing overhand. I watch some people like I can't do this. Like this is not a skill set that I have. And so I think some people have natural abilities to throw a certain way and other people's don't.
Yeah.
So you have to find your way of doing it.
I can't throw a throw bag like a football. I wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, I would, but it
might be awkward.
unnatural to me.
Yeah. It feels very natural to me the more I've done it. It's much easier with one like this to have a good grip on it versus the one where my hand's really wide. It's much easier to do it that way. Yeah, River Station seems like a cool company. I'm the more I look into it, I'm pretty stoked on what they're doing. Yeah, I am now at the point where, because I've been doing so much practice, I don't need to knot. Like I've just have it down to a science. Like I put my few feet out, hold in my hand, throw it. I'm not letting go. Like I don't need to knot anymore, but I can see how it could be a value for people. I don't think it's a necessary thing for everybody. So reverse taper bag from Whitewater Designs. We'll have to look into that. I'll have to look into that one. They have a waist belt too? Man, let's see if we can find their waist belt throw bag.
Apparently there's pink ones in the closeout section for you.
Are there really?
No, that's what Aaron's telling us.
Boating, throw bags. Yeah, I saw this. I'm not a big fan of the zipper opening, and I want to be able to get it out quickly. I mean, that's a throw bag and a waist belt, but
is that just their other throw bag in that? It's just a belt for the other throw bag.
I think so. It looks like it's a zip. Well, there's this one too. Rapid release. I'd have to try it. Interesting. My first instinct is that the one where the bag comes out of inside the bag, the ones I'm a fan of, I just think are super sweet. Okay, let's we gotta move on from Zach's corner. They have pink, dude. Dirt bag deal section, huh? Where's this dirt? The problem is if I find if I find this, what?
There it is.
Okay, everybody. Oh man. Do not buy these out before I get off the show. I need to buy this. I'm going to come back to this after the show. Please do not buy these out, everyone. All right, I think we're done with Zach's Gear Corner, sponsored by River Hardware. What I thought we would do, Steve, is do some of the questions, some of the new questionnaire, do a few, and then get into Steve's
mental angle.
I struggle with overhand. Thanks for sometimes because I'm trying to load something and do something in the background while I talk. I can't always I can't talk as fast as I have to catch up with things. So thanks for helping me there. So I work on, smart. I think some people can do it. Some people it works for, some people it doesn't. Yeah. Are you a good rock skipper, Steve?
I was before I tore my rotator cuff, but my son, Sam, is world-class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, I can see Aaron in the background lurking, so he may join us. So this is a new questionnaire, and to give everybody some background, Aaron and I got in a bunch of discussions, and I thought, you know what? let's make a questionnaire to settle some of the scores between Aaron and I. And then as I was doing it, I thought of more questions I wanted to answer. And then I said,
you had to change all the questions that you were losing on?
No. I mean, I'll tell you. Did you look at the results from the last one, Steve, that I sent you?
No, I didn't get a chance. I want to see. I want to see your questions.
Okay, they're right here. For anybody that wants to see just the answers, there's a link down at the bottom of this video that links you right to this. So you can look at the answers from the previous questionnaire. We had 213 responses, which is amazing. I just want to go show you one in particular, Steve. You missed out on a lot of good stuff here.
Oh, I would love to know which one is the closest to 50-50 and which one was the most definitive one way or the other.
The most definitive. Aaron's breakaway method got two people voted for it, 1% of the vote. And Tire Bags and Well got 88.7, with most of the comments just simply saying rig to flip. So nice. That was the most definitive. I would say something we disagree on. That there's a few that were close. One of them is Bedrock Class 3. Oh, Aaron, you made it. That was about 50-50, although I was slightly ahead on that.
Hey, what's that one that they were all the blue? There's two in a row that are all
Should
blue.
private trips have a trip leader? This one's easy. Yes.
That's a yes?
Should private trips have safety talks?
Oh, wow. Good.
Yeah,
okay.
Those did really well. Helmets, water temperature. Some of these questions, again, they're poorly worded, so we're redoing these. This one's about music. 40% say never. 46% say as long as you turn it down when you're around people, and everybody else has all kinds of different things to say. So
was earphones an option?
Earphones was not an option, but in the new questionnaire, I changed it a little bit.
Okay.
Where do you carry carabiners and pulleys on a raft on your body? About 50-50. Best knife placement, PFD pocket, externally mounted, 47-43, externally mounted. What boat carries a safety kit? Between sweet boat and every boat. Every boat one, but we know that's not realistic. Oh, drain or don't drain the cooler? Don't drain 39.8%, drain 45%, which led me to do an entire experiment on this, but I don't need to get into drain or don't drain right now. Or pins and clips got destroyed, but you'll see the new question coming up. This is awesome. Oh, Bedrock. This is the big one. This is Bedrock Class 3 at low water. 28% no, 24% yes, and all kinds of opinions and I don't knows in there.
Yeah, almost half the people had an opinion. So
yeah, there's just a million opinions, and a lot of people that says I haven't run it, no idea, maybe. When's a good time to throw a throwback from a raft? Did really well. Anyway, let's get into the new questionnaire, Aaron, since you're here. And I reworded a lot of questions and added some new ones. So we just started with so we're getting some basic information from people. And the last one was, I'm a private rafter or a commercial guide. And I decided to add a section, a former commercial guide who is now a private rafter, because a lot of people had to write that in instead of answering primarily what they are. So, and that's I'd add kayaker in. So we're just collecting data to see who our audience is, which you should see. That's interesting too.
And you're going to sell that to your sponsors, right?
Yeah. I'm collecting data for River Station Gear. Or no, sorry, River Hardware is our sponsor. River Station Gear is just what we recommend. Yeah. Okay, so primarily a private rafter is the majority. Most people focus on multi-day trips. Most people have class 4 skills, but most people run class 3 water. That's interesting data, just so you know. So anyway, I thought I'd change this question because a lot of people wrote in, I was a commercial guide, now I'm a private boater. Thought that would be interesting to collect. We had this question, but a lot of people wrote in both day and multi-day. So I added that in. And some people who filled it out just do rescue. Like they're rescuers. They weren't even boaters really. So I thought I'd add that in as an option. And then skill level, we asked the skill level again. I added class 5+. And I didn't add the option for people to write in something here because people wrote in like class 3/4, class 4/5. I'm forcing them to answer this. And then what difficulty do you paddle? I had a class 5+ NAR. I didn't add the option. I put in the knot at the end of the throwback rope again. Aaron, you look very confused and concerned. And we're on time to throw a throwback raft the same. This question, Steve, was about good behavior at boat ramps. And Heidi wanted us to ask this question. This is the answer. Be respectful of other river users by preparing before you get there, being respectful and not hogging the ramp. That's a good answer, right?
Yeah.
But I added some other questions in just to give people an option. Like commercial outfitters are generally disrespectful, so be preemptively rude to them. Or private boaters are generally slow and have too many boats, so get in their way before they hog the boat ramp. Just to see if somebody would put that. But obviously, that's the answer. This is more of just to share information about that. And so I changed the question about bedrock to, instead of asking, is it class 3, yes or no, for people to tell us how difficult it is.
Good.
You with me so far? So far, does it seem good? This is going to be the big one. What, instead of or pins and clips or oar locks, it's which oar retention system do you prefer?
Okay.
And so Aaron reminded me that adding oar locks with rights is a good idea. And I think I like this one. I'm competent in all oar retention systems and base my preference on the style of river.
What are pro locks?
Pro locks are these other things that this company makes that he thinks they're the best thing possible for rafting. Let's see if I can. I'm surprised Gear Garage came up because let me see if I can find a photo of it. Pro locks, the new way to row. It's this thing. Do you see this?
Oh, wow.
So your oar slides in this thing, and it can slide up and down.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be like the best combination of locks and pins and clips or something. I don't know. It doesn't keep you from falling out of the boat, which I think is a major advantage of pins and clips. But I don't know. Some people swear by them, so I thought I would add that as an option.
Okay. I'll have to look into those.
Okay. Which statement about carabiners do you agree with? And I think I kept this one pretty much the same. Drain or don't drain. And I reworded the safety kit question to which boat carries the heavy duty pin kit and comprehensive first aid. So instead of who carries rescue gear and first aid, who carries the heavy duty one, and making an option, every boat should carry tons of safety gear just to clean that one up.
Do you want to switch? Do you want to separate that into two questions?
Like
I don't think the heavy duty repair kit and the comprehensive repair kit always go in the same boat.
So basically duplicate this question, which carries the heavy duty pin kit.
Yeah.
Right. That's a question. Yep. And then which carries the comprehensive.
Yep.
And then here, tons of rescue. I'll just call this rescue gear. We'll see if that flies. And then we'll say here. That. I'll get rid of that. Okay. What's the best way to store a throw bag in a raft? And so I first gave people the option. If you're a kayaker, you're a kayaker, you don't have an opinion. And so a waist belt around your waist belt around a thwart clipped into the raft or a frame. Are there any options I'm missing here?
No.
Okay. Cool. We're about halfway, Steve. You know what that means?
No. Oh, with our question?
It's time for the mental angle, featuring Steve Welch. In this segment, Steve helps us approach the mental game of guiding, trip leading, and running whitewater. Let's all give Steve a big welcome.
Thank you. Zach, I heard you. Well, first of all, it was really encouraging to me to see in the best practices survey that having a pre-trip meeting of some sort that there was strong support for that. You went rafting a couple times in the last couple of weeks and had those.
Yeah, I did some talks, and I thought I would record them. Like I normally do some sort of quick thing, but I'm like, man, I got to record it for the show. So I'm going to do something a little bit more formal the best I could. And so I have the recordings here.
They're like a really rocky.
And we can play them. They're very rough. You're going to see. And I had to just so you know, there's a photo by each of them because StreamYard, the software we used to do the live show, wouldn't let me upload just audio. So that's why there's a picture there.
Okay.
Do you want me to play them? I can play them one at a time.
Let's play one and see how it goes.
Okay. Should I give some background first or just go for it?
Go for it, and then I'll ask you questions.
Okay.
It's kind of nice when you're like going into like a really rocky eddy. You can just put your arm up and not worry about it. Yeah.
Hey, do you guys want to talk about some safety stuff today? We got to probably be on the same page about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just in general, who knows the run really well here?
I know it pretty well.
But how do you feel like you know the lines?
I feel like I know them, but I've only rode it, so it's.
I've probably done this more than I've done this like a good 15 the times. Cable and ran by it.
Yeah, I can't guarantee I'll know like exactly.
Let's talk about the cable in a second. Let's just focus on general stuff first. Okay. How well do you feel like you know the lines, Connor?
Decently.
Okay.
Not.
And have you never been here?
Seen it.
Okay. Do you want lines from somebody? Do you want information?
I want to follow, and I don't need like super detailed, but just kind of. If I lose track of someone, tell me which way I should go.
Okay, I'm happy to do that for you.
Cool.
So if you're around me, I'll give you lines. If you're off like playing grab ass and having fun, like do that. But if you want lines, stay near me. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna follow you.
Who has safety gear?
What do you mean by safety gear?
Like who has? Everybody have a throw bag?
Throw bag.
Actually, we both got extra paddles in the throw bag.
I have extra paddles.
I have an extra paddle.
We have a first aid.
Bring a first aid kit.
Okay, we got. Let's throw a first aid kit in.
I have one.
And then our big hazard today is the cable that we read about. I have no idea where it is.
Ben has seen it. Apparently, all right, you go down initiation, then you go down that next one where you go to the right.
Yeah.
And then it's shortly after
like
that.
2 rapids after initiation. On the left, yeah.
It's what I would,
initiation and then like...
It's halfway down Ramshorn, it sounds like.
No, it's above Ramshorn. It's a rapid above Ramshorn.
It's the entry rapid before Ramshorn.
Do you guys call Ramshorn the big long thing or just
Yes.
the very bottom part?
The very bottom part.
If you call it Ramshorn.
Yes, the critical part.
So it's in that, I call the whole long thing
Okay,
Ramshorn.
okay.
So you guys,
Yes,
it's
so
somewhere in the long thing.
Yes.
It's on the left side of the long thing. Only a small part of it, from what I could tell, is actually in the river, like a very small part of it.
But
so if you do find yourself left of it, you can go that way, but it's ideal to be right of it.
The water was higher than today. So maybe there's...
So let me just, we're going to look out for it. Maybe we'll put you in the front because you've been there.
Okay. There's a lot of pink flag. There's a bunch of
I know that.
neon pink
So when you see the pink flag, I think our general rule is go right.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
The pink flag means go right. Does that sound cool?
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the landslide thing you were talking about?
Well, in that same area where the cable is, the bank collapsed.
Okay.
So the left's like got wood and rocks and like not very passable. So it's I don't
So
think
definitely go right.
yes.
When in doubt, go right.
At that spot.
Okay, cool.
After you saw it.
Okay.
Yeah. I talked to a guy who's been there. There, a bunch of dudes running. He's like, yeah, I didn't see a line through there. We just kind of wiggled to the right
We'll
of the
just
big
go right.
fan rock, whatever that fucking means.
And then the other thing I just want to share is it was pretty windy last night, and so there's a really good chance there's new wood. Like it was really. I heard trees fall on my bike ride last night,
Okay.
so I'm pretty sure
Keep an eye out.
could be wood in the river. So it's just like boat together, boat smart, not play grab ass too much. Play grab ass, don't get me wrong, but just kind of pay attention. There could be wood.
You can grab us on the run out too.
All right, I need a clarification on what grab ass is. Is that like hug, like staying too close? Like
No, that's when you're just like
Sticking around.
not playing boat order, not paying attention to anybody else, just like doing your own world, which is fine.
that is not me.
Some people boat,
I'm
some
gonna
people
be
boat tight,
fucking
and
focused.
some people are just like bombing down things and like taking new lines and boofing everything. I'd say today we want to be a little tighter just because the cable and the potential for new wood.
Yeah.
Cool.
That sounds good to me.
You guys cool with that?
Yeah.
Anything to add?
Thank you.
Sweet.
All right.
That's awesome. Let me ask you some questions about it.
Yeah.
Was it hard for you to initiate the conversation?
In this case, it was really easy because I knew everybody really well, almost everybody. I butted with them, and so we have a relationship. So I'm like, hey, let's all get together. Like, oh yeah, cool, that sounds good. Again, because it's a crew I know.
But that relationship could also be if you've boated with them before and you haven't done that, it might have made it harder. Like, oh, why is Zach bringing this up? There were some specific things unique to that day that sounds like they were important to talk about. The cable thing.
The cable we had to talk about regardless. That definitely had to be talked about.
Mhm.
Even if I had not done a general talk, we had to talk about that for sure.
Do you think that by initiating that conversation, you made yourself the trip leader?
That's a good question.
So, because that's a thing.
That's a good question. Probably, but with this group, I probably was anyway. Like I generally kind of am, and we kind of joke about it because they want me to organize the shuttle and pick what time we're going to go. And honestly, like I don't want to be a part of 20 texts before we go. I want somebody else to tell me where to be and when, because I don't have time the day before to like be a part of this like massive organizational text chain or phone call chain. So I constantly say I don't want to be in charge. I'm not the trip leader. But on river, I generally end up being that person.
Which I think is fine. I think that you can have those roles where you might have a trip organizer and then an on-river trip leader. I think in a private trip setting, you might the person who draws the permit might not be the best person to be the trip leader. So having that distinction is fine. You didn't verbalize it in your discussion. Would it have been maybe in that case inappropriate, but in other situations, do you think it would be helpful to maybe formally say that, hey, Zach's going to be trip leader today?
I mean, it would have been easy for me in this example to say, hey guys, I'm trip leader. You got, they'll be cool. Yeah. So we expected that anyway, you wouldn't have to even say it. But I boat with these guys with such frequency that two of us went out even this week, and we didn't have any talk beforehand because we know each other, and nobody was a trip leader. And I don't think
do you think no one was a trip leader, or do you think you were the trip leader?
I'm the de facto trip leader.
Okay.
Even if it's the two of us. And even on this trip, I could have said, hey, Nick, you're the trip leader today. He would have been like, cool, I'm the trip leader. But if anything would have gone wrong, they would have defaulted to me anyway. So, and I'll always say like, hey guys, I don't want to be the trip leader today. I just want to play grab. When I said playing grab ass, it's just like, I want to go surf. I want to have fun. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be in charge today. I just want to like go boating and like, you guys figure out all the logistics. Now, if there's a dangerous situation, like if somebody gets pinned or hurt, I'll just step in and like manage that situation. But I don't think we need, like, I'm not sure what a trip leader is going to actually do in this case, other than tell us what time to meet at put in and organize a shuttle.
Okay. And that might be more of a trip organizer role than a trip leader role. I think the trip leader might be the one who says, hey, let's stop and scout this rapid, or hey, let's eddy out here and wait for everybody to get back together, or like sets the pace throughout the day, maybe goes first through the major rapids, sort of leads the trip in that regard. I think there is another distinction that you can make, that the trip leader doesn't always have to be the person who is the head rescue or emergency person, and that a good trip leader might defer that to someone else in that moment. Like say, hey, Zach, will you take over this? I don't really know how to get that raft unstuck. You're better at that than I am. I'm still the trip leader, but I'm giving that authority, giving that leadership over to you for this specific instance, which might be the role that you want to play on that day that you just want to go out there and surf, right? But if something goes wrong, the last thing you want is someone with less experience than you taking over and taking charge of that situation and maybe starting down roads that you don't think that you should be going.
Sir, let me interject really quick. I think it's okay if people who are less experienced than me do take over, because they need that experience. And as long as it's not going to be bad, I'm like, as long as they're going to do an adequate job and nobody's going to get hurt, I'm happy just like kicking back and being downstream safety or supporting them. I don't have to take over a rescue unless I'm like, this is bad. I'm just going to take over. You know, if it's like somebody's swimming and we have to chase the kayak down, I don't have to take over and be the rescue squirrel. So, but if it's a dangerous situation, I'm going to be like, hey guys, I got this.
And that's good. And I think that's important. I think the voice that I also want to bring into this conversation is there are people who aren't natural leaders, who aren't the most experienced person on the trip, who aren't going to step up and say, hey, let's have a pre-trip meeting comfortably, like may not feel like it's their role, but they want to have one. They want that to happen. They want to know who's in charge. They want to know if there's a trip leader. They want to know more about how the day is going, but they're not in a position to be in a leadership position. So what can those people do to sort of, initiate that conversation without being out of place? Like, how have you been in a situation where that same trip that you just did your little safety talk from, where that discussion, you didn't initiate that discussion, but someone else did? Did they do it in a way that was...
It's so rare.
That was cool? Or did they do it like, hey, dude, shut up, we're just going boating?
I mean, if somebody did it, I would be super supportive. I'm like, oh, sweet. In the back of my head, I'd be like, what a nerd, a little bit, but if they did, I would make sure I would write to them when they asked us to get together. I would be quiet. I wouldn't interject all the time. And I would be super supportive. And I'd even be like, hey guys, come on over. I want that to happen. And I would be supportive of those endeavors. But a little bit of me, it depends who did it. Some people I'd be like, oh man, yeah, nerd alert.
Right. But if once the conversation begins, then you can sort of steer it into the appropriate length or the appropriate topics.
It depends on the conversation. I don't want to break into somebody else's safety talk. I don't want to, because I'll take it over. And I'm very conscious of that. But like there's real dangers and there's just like dangers people learn from rescue instructors. Like they take a swiftwater rescue class at some point and their instructor is like, here's the 5 things to stress out about. And I don't think those are always the real dangers. And so they might spend the whole time talking about stuff that is like, I can't think of an example, but we were like, yeah, that's kind of important theoretically. But for our day today, that's not the actual hazards. That's not actual reality hazard issue we're coming into. Does that make sense? I'm not sure how to say that. Like I would hear some talks and be like,
yeah.
That was kind of useless stuff. Like you really should have focused on the fact that the water's cold. And if we have a swimmer, we need to get them out quickly, or that there's wood in the river because it was windy yesterday. Not, do you have the right knot tied in your throw bag, or I don't know, something else.
But don't forget that what's important to you and what's important to somebody else may not always be the same thing. The fact that there's a place to interject those things, like they may want to talk about having a knot in the end of the throw bag and you may want to talk about cold water swimmers, which you think is way more important.
Yeah.
But at least they're having the conversation, which I think is good.
Mm-hmm.
The topics, you guys had a rambling, unorganized discussion, which was organic and fun, but I think you did touch on certain topics that if you were to try and formalize this, you might include. And I want to just sort of see if these are the things. I came up with 5 of them. Safety was your sort of overarching thing and probably the easiest introductory topic to have. Like, oh, we're talking about safety. Everybody's into that. We should, of course, be talking about safety. At some point, you did talk about boat order. You didn't establish one, but you talked about who feels comfortable going first, I think.
It was specific to the time we got to the wire. Because I knew, like with this group, I knew if people wanted lines, they would stay near me, or my friend Howard probably, who knows, they would just choose to. I wasn't going to be like, you, and you, because they're not going to follow that anyway. Like when if it's all kayakers.
Okay.
And so they're kind of going to go when they go. I'm not going to make everybody eddy out and leave it at a certain time, but people are aware of their own safety, they want like me or Howard downstream giving lines and also to provide some sort of safety net.
Right. And one of your questions was who knows the lines? And it sounded like, and I think you were being indulgent, that you let them tell you the lines, even though it sounds like maybe with the exception of the Ram's Horn Rapid and where it begins or ends or the name of it, like I think you feel pretty comfortable with the lines.
I just wanted to know, I knew how much they'd seen the river, but I wanted them to verbalize it so everybody knew. And also I want to give them a chance to say, hey, I don't know it that well, so I know whether I should keep an eye on them. If they're like, hey, no, I know it good enough, I'm good, I'm like, cool, you're fine. But if they're like, man, I've been here a couple of times, but I don't remember where to go, I'm probably going to pay more attention to them.
I thought you did a good job of that, of listening to their input and indulging them and letting them tell you what they did or didn't know. And it seemed like as the conversation progressed, people got more comfortable sort of figuring out where they were both in the conversation and then where they were going to be on the river. The other thing you talked about was gear, and it was funny. Whatever your question was initially, like, what kind of safety gear do we have? And it didn't seem like anybody had any safety gear. And then when people started naming what they considered to be safety gear, it was like, oh yeah, I got that. I got a spare paddle. I got a throw bag. I got a first aid kit. Like there was almost this baseline of understanding that we all have this stuff. What do you mean by what gear do we have? But I think it's a really good thing to reiterate. And you made sure that you had a safety or a first aid kit.
It's pretty common for like when I asked that question, nobody has a first aid kit, but somebody has one in the car. Almost every time I was like, oh yeah, first aid kit. I'll go grab that and throw it in.
So safety, gear, boat order. The other thing I think you talked about a little bit or would come about that maybe in a more general way. And I think this is something they teach in woofer classes, first aid classes, like what's the highest level of training within the group. I don't think you need to go into like, does anybody have a woofer? Does anybody have a first aid card? What level of training do you have? Personally, I sort of think that can be decided at the moment that you might need it. But you did sort of go through who's been down this river before, who's been down this river recently, like sort of established a training level hierarchy within that group that felt like everybody was sort of in the same place. But I think that's an important piece of information to have. Like if there had been someone there who's never been down that run before, everybody should know that.
Yeah. And there was one person actually who, here's some extra information I haven't told you yet. One person hadn't been down the run and he carried his boat down to the river and then decided not to go. He got on the water and was like, I'm not feeling it, and decided to back out.
Wow.
Maybe because of the safety talk, probably not. But like when I asked where he was, half a mile downstream, well, I mean, it's class 1-2 for half a mile.
When
so
you
I was like,
he wasn't there.
Well, I was counting everybody. I'm like, we're missing somebody. And I asked like, he decided not to go. He didn't feel comfortable that day. The one person who didn't know the lines, who I was going to actually give lines to. But on that topic too, I think with people learning the river, some people can do river once and it's memorized and they don't need information. Some people can do a river 5 times and maybe it's been over several years or they just don't have a good mind for that. And they maybe have seen the river a lot, but they still need some information. So I'm conscious to ask how much you've done it. And then in addition, do you need information?
No, and you did a good job of asking that question and clarifying that difference. And I think that's a good piece of information to have. If I was going on a private trip, the day trip thing is
it's different.
It's different. We need to shorten that as much as we can. But I think knowing that comfort level that each person has is going to make for a better overall experience for everybody. And I think people want to share that information, both the people who've been there a lot and the people who've never been there before. Like they want to tell you, I know this river really well, or I've never been here before. And I'm really I want to follow somebody. So giving them a place to.
Yeah. Sometimes asking that question can take 15 minutes. So like sometimes I'll read the audience because some people really want to share, their life story too. And we don't want to, nobody wants to hear the life story.
Agreed. The other things that I don't know that you talked about a little bit, maybe because you were talking about that specific rapid, is just sort of what the general itinerary is. Like, did you scout anything on that day? And did you know, was it pretty clear from that pre-trip discussion that we were going to read and run?
Yeah. I mean, everybody knew everybody had been down. So they knew there wasn't a scout, and everybody had before not scouted. Like there's no scout on the run. There's not a common scout. So it's not a thing.
The other thing I think that was really good that you brought out was current, local, immediate information, things that might have changed since the last time you were there. Because that's a habit that we all fall into, like, oh, it's just the wind or whatever it is. That's just, we did the stretch a week ago. It's going to be the same. You said it's really windy last night. Let's keep an eye out for wood in the river. Like, really smart to, who's went down last? What'd you see? Anything changed since the last time we've been here? Anything we should be thinking about in those regards? I think that was a really good thing to point out. The other thing that would be interesting, and I don't know how to bring this up, but I always think about it, usually when it's too late. May not happen often enough to worry about, but like the shuttle details, like where are your keys hidden? Like just to confirm all that kind of stuff, because nobody wants to get to takeout and find out that, oh, I thought you had the keys. Is that a thing?
I mean, not with this crew, because we all paddle all the time. Like we're probably not going to mess that one up. And actually what's interesting is we left my friend Nick's truck at takeout, and he has a new Ford, and the Ford he told us his 5-digit code.
All right. Well, I think this is I think these topics for launch talks, whatever we want to call these, are helpful and important. I'm glad to know that there's support for having them. I think they're really important. Do you think it makes any difference? Do you think it made any difference in the success of that trip? Do you think it had?
No.
Did you feel any better going down the river? Like, at least we did that. Like
I mean, several people, you heard one thank you in the audio. Somebody else came up to me and said, hey, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. I'm glad you did that. So that made me feel good. I think, the wire we were trying to miss, there's a wire that was in the river. It was so easy to miss. And I think it caused too much anxiety about the wire when it's such an easy thing to miss. It was such an obvious thing. But when we got there, there was you could feel the anxiety. And actually, a couple of paddlers took a really hard line they didn't need to take to miss it. And so people needed to know about it, but it probably should have been like basic information and downplayed, because you created anxiety.
Didn't go, might have gotten off.
Yeah,
because of that. Yeah,
possibly. Yeah, possibly. Let's get to a couple questions, and then we'll if this sounds good, then we'll play the second one, because the second one's very different. The second one has a very different vibe for sure, and I have a shorter second one.
Okay.
Thank you, John. Yep, it went really well, and people were receptive for sure. My safety talk contains minimal grab ass. Yeah, I think that's me trying to add some levity to it, but also when you go kayaking, some people are just on their own missions. Aaron, you have some audio we can hear, like some static. Just so you know, you jumping in.
Are you at the ocean?
Yeah, it sounds like the ocean actually. Now we got to get you a new computer.
This is a new computer, and I tried a Mac today too. Nothing's working well today. It's like something, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think. How about if you turn the audio off, because it's distracting, and I don't think your headphones are working. Do hand signals. Maybe write some comments in the comment section. You can do some thumbs upping.
Yeah, write it down on a piece of paper.
Write it down. Yeah, I think. But going back to the grab ass thing, some people are just on their own mission. And I want to acknowledge that, because if you're on your own mission, you're on your own mission. If you're going to not be at boat space, not play boat order, you're going to bomb down ahead of people that know the run, you're a grab asser. I want to acknowledge that that's a thing that people do. And if you do that, do it. But we're going to look out for people that are not playing grab ass today. That's kind of what I was trying to get at. Hopefully that made sense. a way to still take the survey. Yeah, whitewaterguidebook.com. You can go there right now. The old survey is up. When this show is over, I'm going to put up the new survey. And so the old survey, you can take it, but I'm going to put the new survey up in like an hour when I get off. Yeah, Sean, you're right about that. So let's play the next one. So just to give some context, the last one is with people I know really well. I paddle with a bunch for the most part. And there was a hazard, which was that line in the water. There's a wire in the water. This next one is me going out with 4 other kayakers. I'm in a raft, carrying some gear down to remove the wire. So this was a mission to get the wire out of there to remove a hazard. And the kayakers, I didn't know any of them. And they were, you could just tell they were good kayakers. They kayak all the time. These are just like, like,
Zach, stop.
Yeah.
You went solo boating and met these people?
No. It was organized. So somebody was organizing a removal of the wire.
And you said, hey, I'll come along and carry this gear down that'll help us get it out.
Yeah, he was looking for a rafter.
Okay.
Somebody could raft. And then a friend of a friend said, hey, call Zach. And I'm like, cool, I'll go help. I carried all this gear, all this stuff that needed to get down to help remove the wire.
Okay.
And then he invited his kayaking friends who were super bro. They were, you could just tell, like, they kayak a lot, right? And so it was a different vibe. I don't think these guys normally do a safety talk and put in. And so this is me attempting to do something. Here we go. Hey, so you guys might want to stay ahead of me. Because if I get stuck, you'll go underneath me. You probably know that, but just give you a heads up. But do keep an eye on me because I'm going to get stuck quite a bit. So, but be careful being behind me. Get you pretty nasty. Sweet. And the trouble spots for me will be the entrance of initiation and balls to the wall right.
Are you going to go right at initiation?
No, I'll probably go through the goalpost. There's not really a right line. So I'll go through the goalpost. I could get pinned in there. And then after that, it's pretty straightforward. And then
I've had the best luck. Like you go through the goalpost, and then there's like the center features off to the left.
So like after the goalposts. Oh yeah, go through the goalpost and go left. Yeah, for sure. I'll do that. But I could get stuck in there regardless. And then balls to the wall right. Balls to the wall right.
Yeah.
I can't go right. I have to go middle. Yeah. And middle is funky.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 places in particular.
You can't go right at the beginning?
I can't take the right line like kayakers do. Because I can't use my oars. It's too narrow. So if I go in there, I'm just like holding on. Where the center, I can kind of make maneuvers.
Oh, okay, yeah, that does get kind of shallow.
So in that, like there's a spot down there where a lot of boats go center and flip. But everything else should be fine. But those are the spots where I'll probably have troubles. So this one was different. I'll take this picture of Brody away. I had to put a picture to make the video. I was just trying to like start a conversation because I knew they weren't gonna. They were already walking to their boats. They weren't. Hey guys, let's all gather around. They would have rolled their eyes, and so I was just trying to explain that hazards that mattered to me, like things that affected me the best I could, hoping to start a dialogue, but it didn't start a dialogue. I mean, one guy engaged with me, you saw, but it didn't really start a dialogue.
So everyone was like walking to the river, and you tried to like stop them from going to get in their boats to go to have a conversation at that point. Is that basically what you're saying?
I could have stopped them and be like, "Hey guys, everybody come here." Instead, I tried to start a conversation loudly that hopefully they would, hopefully organically they would come back, but they kind of kept walking. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then I wanted to explain safety things that were important to me, at least. Yeah.
Hey, are you having feedback problems now?
This is way better. This is way better. The feedback's gone. There was you can hear the ocean too. So.
Oh, you can hear the ocean. Well, it is crazy windy here today too. I changed my settings and like right now, like outside the window. So that's probably what you were hearing in the background. So yeah.
Hey, you sound great.
Getting it figured out. It only took me, half the show. We're at the hour mark, and now I'm logged in. Great to be here. I couldn't even listen to you guys, so I missed the whole first hour. So you're gonna have to tell me what we talked about the whole first hour to get me updated again.
We're not going to. We're just going to keep going. We'll tell you later. You can watch. You can listen to the show as a podcast if you go to Apple Podcast or Shopify. No, Spotify. All right, Steve.
That's what I'll do. I'll do my own show afterwards while I'll be listening to the show, and I'll be commenting on your show.
There you go.
I'll do a separate show about that show with my own review of your show.
Our show.
Well, I guess it's our show, but I wasn't a part of it. But so it's your show today, like you and
Got
Steve.
it.
So,
Got it.
Okay. Glad we're on the same page here. So
the second one, I think, is a better indication of someone who is on the outside looking in. Like, you're joining this group of people who sounds like they boated a lot together, and they're not going to have this conversation without you. I think you did a really good job of opening that conversation with, hey, this is where I'm going to have trouble. You might want to go in front of me. Like, right, that's a really innocuous, gentle, kind way of introducing the whole concept of, hey, I want to talk about this a little bit before we just go because I want to talk about it. I think we should. And I think it was a good way to initiate that conversation. Difficult, but I think important. Maybe it was empowering to me to see the best practices survey and see the support for what you tried to do. Like, I don't know if having that information made it any easier for you to bring that up at put in on that second trip, but statistically, that most people aren't averse to having that conversation. Now, those people probably didn't take the survey.
When they're at home,
maybe you
behind
should
the
take
computer.
What's that?
I think they're not averse to it when they're at home.
I think I want to be optimistic and think that we're gonna forge ahead with this idea. You did your duty. You warned them not to get behind you in those certain spots, which is really important. And had you not done that and you gotten stuck and they went under your boat, you look back on that and go, man, I should have said something. They should have known, like all that stuff. I think those were good things. The rest of it was probably going to be really hard for you to sort of wag your way up to the top of that hierarchy and be the trip leader. And
I was not the trip leader.
This is with kayakers too, right?
I was rafting and they were kayakers. The first one was all kayakers.
That seems like a
tough dynamic. Yeah,
that's not the rafter is going to talk to. Yeah.
There was sort
that's
of
how they reacted to it too.
I bet you'd be like, well, stupid rafters, man. Let's just go kayaking. When I'm kayaking, I don't like to boat with rafters. I wouldn't even want to see you there. I'd be like, great, big floating undercut around us. Super, thanks, buddy. Yeah.
Well, they wanted me there, Aaron, because I was carrying down gear they needed to do a removal of this wire. So they wanted me there because they didn't want to put all this equipment in the kayaks for sure. Mm-hmm. And just so you know, there was an established trip leader. I mean, because the person who organized this little mini, like, cut the cable out thing, who had brought everybody together. So I was not the trip leader by any means. I was just there as a helper. There's a question for you.
Well, that's a good question. I am conflict averse to a sickness. Like, I'm really bad at calling an all stop and forcing a conversation. So my ideal situation would be before we got there, somehow I would try and introduce the idea of having this conversation. Hey, before we go rafting, can we just all get together and figure out a plan for the day or talk about some safety issues that I'm concerned about, and sort of soften the ground before I have to go in there and call an all stop. But I would, I've regretted not calling an all stop and forcing the conversation way more than I've regretted calling an all stop and forcing conversation. Right? Like that's awkward to do, and you might get some bad, like whatever, Steve's being Steve type stuff. But that's a lot better than, oh man, like we never even talked about what we were going to do. I thought we were going to do this. I thought we were going to do that. So I'd say that what Zach did was probably, Zach, would you have gone a little further? Would you have asked like, hey, like,
no, because these guys are ballers. I'm not worried about them. Honestly, like I mainly did that one because of the show. I'm like, hey, let me try. Let me see what I can do. But these guys are all good boaters. Like I'm not worried.
Zach, was there anything at the end of the day you're like, oh, I wish we talked about that, or that could have been sketchy if we hadn't discussed it? So I mean, that's the other thing too, is if you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh well, there's nothing, then maybe there was nothing discussed to begin with.
I mean, it's been a long time for me since I've been on a river where I wish I had said more. Man, I wish we had talked about that. I
usually, you know their names?
I know one of their names. I don't remember their. I knew their name. I heard their names when they introduced themselves on the river.
You had done that. You had gone around the circle and said, "Hey, I'm Zach."
When they walked up, I go, "Hey, I'm Zach." Nice to meet you. They just drove up. We didn't go in the circle. They just came up one at a time. Hey, I'm Zach. I'm boating with you today. I'm the nerd in the raft. And you know, and what's funny is your ego wants to say, "Hey, I'm also a kayaker too, by the way. I'm just rafting today." I never did, but you really want to throw in there like, "Oh man," like you can also say, "Oh man, nice kayak. I have that one in blue." You know, it's like, you kind of want them to know you're a kayaker. It kind of on the outside because you can tell they're like, "Oh man, who invited this guy?"
Is there any whatever compensatory feeling amongst kayakers that they wish they were a rafter?
No.
Zero, right? Is that
I mean, you know,
why is that?
Let's say if I was kayaking the Selway or maybe the Grand Canyon, and there was a river guide, I might be like, I'm also a river guide too.
Oh yeah.
I could maybe do that. You know, like, where do you work? If I'm somewhere like where there's some guides I respect, I want them to know I'm a guide. I might throw in like something, but private boating, I don't. Yeah.
So in the hierarchy of self-importance, kayakers, commercial guides, private boaters. A kayaker would always.
Man, I don't know. That's gonna be. You said it. You said it. I didn't say it.
I'm gonna say this. I think it depends on the run you're doing. Because I'll say
Zach,
this.
you just said you wanted the kayakers to know you were a kayaker.
Yeah,
you would want. But if you were on a private trip, you would want the commercial guides to know that you used to be a commercial guide. You are
because I'm also a commercial guide, so I have a relation. I want them to. I don't know, but private boaters know I'm a private boater. I'm not going to go up to a private boater and a raft and say, "Hey, I also raft too."
And if you're in a kayak, you're not going to say you also raft too. Like that gives you no credibility.
I don't do this, but your ego wants you to a little bit. You get that.
You do it. I know you do it.
I try
not
to
do it. We all do it in a little way.
I'm conscious of it, so I consciously own whatever I'm doing. I'm like,
I used to own a boat like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but the raft, you don't really. I think it depends. The harder the river, then I think the more impressive is if you've rafted it.
That's true. If it's a really hard river,
and it's legit. If you're getting class 5, and so like you're out there kayaking, you're one of the kayakers, but you're rafting that. Like there's runs that you get up to, and you're like, like on Cherry Creek. There's like 30 kayakers that put in. There's only one. A pair of us R2ing it today. Whenever you see people R2ing up there, or rafting, you're like, damn, all right, getting after it. Like kayakers, you're like, we see kayakers up here all the time. That's not a big deal. You're not special. But you are, but So I feel like it depends on the what you're doing and what you're running and who you're going with. So, but
it's also it's all self-appointed, self-assigned importance. That's all I meant.
There's definitely some rules to it, though. There's some underlying rules.
I mean, there's certainly a hierarchy of how cool people are, and it starts with like creek boater kayaking, and then it goes to like a play boater kayaker. And then it probably goes to rafter. I'm going to call commercial and private equal. And probably catarafter in my mind, then rafter, then sup, then with those little inner tube things Aaron likes.
Creature
pack rafts.
Pack rafts, and then creature crafts are at the bottom.
Creature crafts at the bottom, yeah.
Something like that. There's some order like that.
Where are the inflatable kayakers?
There shouldn't be.
Inflatable kayakers come after rafts probably. So it's like creek boater, play boater, catarafter, rafter, ikayer, or duckier, pack rafter, creature crafter.
I agree in general.
Sup is right below inflatable kayaker.
Add this to the questions.
Where do you throw these?
We'll get to the questions.
Where do you throw the superstar R2ers?
Rafter. It's all rafts.
Yeah, what?
Rowing versus paddling is different.
That's true. I have a note.
There. That's really dependent too. Yeah.
I have a note. Hey, do you have? There's a couple comments. Do you want to talk any more about that second talk, or should we move on to comments and then the rest of the show?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. It does. Hey, Steve. By the way, that's one of your best mental angles ever.
Thank you for giving the audio.
And I'm gonna do this more. It was kind of fun. I think I'm gonna go boating tomorrow with people I kind of know, and so I'll try to do another one of these as well. I'll try. We'll see if I actually go boating tomorrow and if I do it.
Maybe what you could experiment with would be the initiation questions. Like, hey, are we going to have a trip leader? Or, hey, what safety gear do we have? Or what are we going to do when we get to this spot? Like, if you experiment with different opening questions, we might find one that makes it really easy for the rest of these things to evolve.
I mean, for me, the opening thing is, hey, that's always how I do it. Hey, would you guys mind if we just gather around for a quick minute and talk about safety? That's just, it always works. It's not threatening. It's me asking the question, not telling people to do it. You put the word safety in there. Nobody's going to say no to it. That's my go-to. It works every time. That's how I always do it. What I really want to do is put a GoPro on it so we can get video to see people's body language, who's paying attention to who's not. It's a lot of work because both times I brought the GoPro, but there wasn't time to set it up. But that's what I
do. The helmet cam, buddy, right there.
Would be cool.
Throwback cam.
That guy.
The throwback cam, and then just hold your throwback.
I'm not going to wear a GoPro helmet in a safety talk, but
body cam, like the
body cam.
Someone's got to get video of you with the GoPro helmet leading the safety talk.
I'm not going to do that.
Make sure you.
I'm not going to call this a safety talk. I'm going to call this something else.
That's what I think. That's a good. We need to work on that. Let's
There's a word for
that
it.
on the
There's a word
agenda
for
the next mental angle.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into comments really quick. Off topic. Where did this wire come from, and why did it fall to this group to remove it? So a tree fell on I think it wasn't a power wire. I think it was a telephone wire, and brought it down to the river. And so it was like on one side of the river, it was coming down, and then shot straight up out of the river up high. It's a really steep canyon. So it's this almost straight up and down wire it kind of like not the middle of the rapid, but a route you might go. And somebody almost hit it kayaking. And imagine going really fast kayaking and running into a wire. It could be bad. This group, and I don't know how above board this was completely, so I'm not going to give details, but this group did have some authority based on where it was to do this. So it wasn't just like a bunch of cowboys going out there doing it. There was some authority for doing it. And I mean, I wouldn't remove a tree probably because there are some like ethical issues with removing trees. But the wire is not creating fish habitat. So it's just a hazard. So that's why.
Did you remove it?
Yeah. You know what was really cool? I gotta tell you.
How'd you remove it? Did you like cut it?
Yeah. Well, I have all the video from it. We'll have to do a members only show, and because it's not video I want to get out to the world, but I have GoPro footage of the whole thing. We could do a members only show at some point and go over the video. You guys will think it's interesting. But the quick answer is it was a wire. Right. And so we brought all this equipment, way more than we didn't use we used like 1% of the equipment that we brought. All I did was attach this prusik to the wire. And these Sterling prusiks, the first thing I did was I duct taped a carabiner to it because we needed to get the wire to the other side of the river. So we needed to cut it and then pull it over. So I duct taped a carabiner to it, which I'm like, that's going to work. But let me just try this prusik. And these Sterling prusiks are amazing. This held on
girth hitch? Like
no, prusik hitch.
Yeah.
I wrapped it around like a prusik hitch, and it was solid. I mean, these prusiks were amazing. So this exact prusik, the Sterling auto block, I attached it on, put a carabiner on it, threw a throwback across overhand, by the way, very accurate, and then they pulled touchdown. They pulled it across and they tied it up in the trees. And we cut it with like little loppers. We brought loppers that were like this big. They were my raft, just in case, but we only needed the ones that were like that big.
And it was a telephone wire.
I think it was a telephone wire. It was super thin. Yeah, I think it was like a telephone wire that was way high and a tree fell on it. And there was a tree on part of it. That would have been, it's maybe a danger too, but not as annoying as the wire. I was like showing up with the sup as it was becoming a thing. Even kayakers would be like, you're going to run this on what? On that? Yeah, no, that's a great. I had sup for a long time. It's embarrassing.
So maybe the sup should be higher up on that list of yours, Zach.
No, sup is higher than the pack raft.
It should be higher than a raft, probably.
No, nobody thinks sups are that cool.
What about inner tubing?
Inner tubing is right above Creaturecraft.
Would you say? I would think inner tubing's above Creek and Bros. If you're on the same run,
someone's
on the run in a kayak.
The only person who ever pulled that off was Travis when he did Cherry Creek.
But that was right there. That was
amazing. But it will never be repeated.
What about the riverboard people?
That cool.
Oh no, riverboard people are the problem.
Riverboard is probably.
You mean kickboarders with the little kickboards? Yeah.
I'm gonna put riverboards above Creaturecrafts, but below pack rafts. Pack rafts are actually kind of cool.
I think the tubers belong up high. If you're on a run with the tube and other people are kayaking it, you're definitely legit.
Aaron, if you're supping Cherry Creek, you're legit too, but nobody's supping Cherry Creek.
That's why the suppers should be up too.
Yeah, no, because most of them
because you're talking about running into people out on the river. And if you're running the river in a raft and you look over it, that's why like when you get really hard and you're in a kayak and you look over someone's raft, you're like, damn, wow. But like when you're in like class 3, for class 3 boaters, kayaking class 3 is more difficult than kayakers people rafting class 3, I think. Like that's harder. You know.
Supping class 4 is like kayaking class 5.
Yeah, totally.
So if somebody's supping class 4, I'm like that, and they're styling it, they're not just getting destroyed. I'm impressed. I'm like, that's really cool. Like you're rad. But we're talking about like 0.5% of all suppers. Most of them are just like
you're talking about where you see them on. So a rafter on flat water is cooler than a supper on flat water.
Aaron, I get what you're saying. I'm saying as a community as a whole. If somebody says
when we're at the bar, and
if somebody says, "Hey, I'm a whitewater
sup," and you're walking with your kayak paddle,
if somebody says I'm a whitewater supper, I'm like, "Oh, cool." I put them in a hole, right? If they say, "Hey, I supped Cherry Creek last week," I'm really impressed. But nobody's telling me that.
I think you engineers need to normalize your experiment and say you're at put in on such and such a spot.
Yes.
And all of these different people show up in all of these different types of boats, and you're just going to make your blanket judgment that we all do on who is the, whatever you want to call it, the coolest in that situation. And we're at put in on the Middle Fork and Salmon, or put in on the wherever. Where are those people going to fall? That would be the experiment to conduct. I will say that someone said there was a comment about pack rafts are definitely cooler than IKs. Chuck Brushwood. 5 years ago, not true. Pack rafts, the legitimacy of pack rafts has, I think, gone way up in the last 5 years. And I would agree now that pack rafts are cooler than IKs.
IKs are pretty cool.
Yeah, but IKs are also very accessible, and
It's the scooter. It's like a scooter.
Now, what's a pack raft's like an inner tube? I almost
a pack raft's like an off-trail scooter, like an off-road scooter that you can go.
Oh, great! That is a great analogy, Aaron.
You have to give context here because if I see a pack raft, so let's talk about middle fork of the salmon put in.
Put in on middle fork of the salmon.
You know who's the top of the food chain there?
Don't say it. No.
Sweet boat driver.
No.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be, but it is.
I don't want to admit it, but yeah. We don't need
Aaron,
to
you gotta remember,
ego.
this scale is developed by the people who are.
You know what? I think it's more though.
So the sweet boat drivers are definitely going to put themselves
drift boats
at the top.
The drift boats.
Oh, drift boats are probably second, but even the drift boats.
No, the drift boats.
That's interesting. And there's wooden drift boats versus metal ones. The wooden ones,
the wooden ones. No, metal level.
I would almost go wooden drift boat, sweet boat. Then I'd go metal drift boat, and then I would go stand up paddleboarder. If you're a Boundary Creek on a sup, you're legit. If you're a Boundary Creek in a creek boat,
yeah, a lot of people do that.
Yeah, but let's back up. I think it's one thing that Steve was talking about. Like you see them up and you're like, woo! But there's a second step. They got to get out in the water and actually like.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it can't just be what they're walking around with the put in.
But
they gotta like, you know, they got to be able to make it down the river too. Because there's some people who go out there and they just get pounded, and you're like, okay, yeah, I definitely don't want to do that. It's impressive you're taking that pounding, but I'm not impressed with your skills, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean we're getting deep on this. If you're a creature crafter put in at Boundary Creek, I'm actually impressed too. You did a lot of work. Like I'm impressed. Like wow, and you didn't need to. If you're a pack rafter at put in,
you're not impressed by a creature craft. No, put in on the middle fork of the salmon. You're confused.
So much work. I'm just like you really love this sport that
much.
But if I see a pack raft that put in for the middle fork, I'm disappointed. I want them to hike in. So like, what's the big deal? You drove your 10-pound boat to put in, and you're gonna live off rice and beans for a week. Like, I want to see if you hiked in down Loon Creek Trail, that's awesome. But if you drove to Boundary Creek with your pack raft, I'm not as impressed. Inflatable, flamingo, yeah, depends on the context. Hey, do you guys want to move on to the finishing this?
Yeah, let's do the rest of your questions.
Aaron, this is.
I'm glad I missed half of it. There's better computers than doing this.
Steve, this put Aaron to sleep last week.
Yeah,
that's how good it was.
Dying. We were just like, oh.
This is Aaron. This is 2.0, and I've cleaned up a lot of the questions based on our notes last week. A couple things you'll like is skill level. I changed a little bit, and then I think you'll like how difficult is bedrock at low flows, which was your suggestion, right? And I gave the opportunity for 3+ and 4- even just to really dive in a bit.
Why did you give 3- on there?
I can't. You want me to add 3-? It's not that hard.
Can you add
2+? 2+.
Who cares? Why does it matter?
You're sending a message that you think it's in that range by just doing the ± in there, and so you're biasing the people in it by the way you've set up that question.
Okay, is this what you want? Class. Is that what you want, Aaron?
Yeah, but then you're gonna have to have class 2+ also. You can't you have to have it all the way through.
4+.
Yeah, and 4+. Yeah.
No, it's just the 3s and the 4s can be pluses and minuses.
Okay.
You want 4+?
Yeah.
And then we can add.
And you might as well. Since you've done all this, you might as well do 5- and 5+ on there.
I'm not doing 5-, 5+. It's not class 5. It's just
someone might think it's 5-.
They can. It all lives within class 5. How about this? If I write
or above
includes 5- and 5+. How's that?
And class 2 should include class 2- and 2+, and that should be our scale. It should be class 2, 3-, 3, 3+, 4-, 4, 4+.
Yeah, I'm with you.
5.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, get rid of that.
Then this will give us at least some like subtlety to the question.
That should be the new international scale of river difficulty.
That is a good one. Although no, that is the scale. But I'm going to say there's another category 4/5 that is a little harder than 4+, which means it's 4, but there's like 1 or 2 5s in there.
I think that there's
subtlety to how they're written. I think
there's tipping points between a 4+ and 5, and there's a tipping point between a 2 and a 3-. Like it's either like,
but I think
those are distinct enough that you don't need to start.
Steve, if there's a class 4 run, what's a good example? It's like class 4, but there's let's say the Tuolumne. If Clavy's a class 5, let's just say Clavy's a class 5. How would you rate the Tuolumne?
Back when it was class 5,
yeah,
before it changed.
So let's be clear that the river rating scale is a rapid rating scale, not a river rating scale. So you can't rate the 12.
Oh, okay, got it. So you're right. So like for me, I use this to rate a river. How difficult is the Tuolumne? What's your answer?
A lot of class 4s and one class 4+ rapid.
To me, I call that 4/5.
Is that what you call the Illinois?
I'm going to call if somebody asks me how difficult is Illinois, it's 4 or 5. And then if they want more details, I'll say, hey, there's one class 5. But it's generally class 4, but there is like 1 or 2 5s. So you're right, it is per rapid, but you get asked that question a lot, how difficult the run is. And I think there's some subtlety to 4/5 that's different than 4+. Chamberlain is 4+.
Yeah.
Like how hard is Chamberlain? 4+.
4+. Yeah.
Because there isn't a class 5.
And it's hard. Yeah, and it's harder than class 4. It's hard class 4.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with Zach on that one. Hey, Zach, go back. You need to fix something on there.
What's that?
It includes class 2- and 2+.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, sweet. Sweet. And then another question I think you'll like is I ask what oar retention system people prefer this time instead of what's better, spinnies or pins and clips.
And after I come up with my new invention, Aaron, I was driving back from Washington 2 days ago on Monday, drove for 7 hours, got to Merlin after making a bunch of different stops, deciding this, deciding that, just happened to pull into the grocery store in Merlin at the exact same time that Zach, who had spent the whole day doing a bunch of different things, randomly ran into me. We ran into each other in the grocery store parking lot in Merlin. And I gave him some earth-shattering news about a new oar retention system that I'm developing.
Yeah, you're not going to share until you get your patent?
Correct. I have a little bit of tweaking to do, but it'll be the oar retention system.
So that's not the Pro Locks that's on there. That's not the one.
I got to come up with a better name than that. Pro Lock sounds pretty good, but now that I know that's taken, I have to come up with my own.
Yeah.
What are the Pro Locks? Do we know what those are?
We already talked about this at the beginning of the show because Steve had the exact same question, so we're not going to go through that again.
Look it up.
Carabiners, drain or don't drain. We changed this. We made which boat carries the heavy duty pin kit is a separate question to which boat carries the comprehensive first aid kit. That was Steve's suggestion. Make that 2 questions.
That's going to be confusing because some people are going to think the sweet boat means like the sweet boat in Idaho.
Does that help?
Yeah.
It is a little confusing for 1% of all boaters.
We've been talking about sweet boats so often.
I'll just change that. This is like we're getting work done here, guys, in addition to providing quality entertainment. What's the best way to store a throw bag in a raft in general? I added clipped into the raft or frame. Aaron, that was for you. Knife placement.
The best way to throw a throw bag from a raft?
I asked the question. I left that question the same. When is a good time to throw a throwback from a raft? Exact same question. Okay, so this is where I think we left off before we took a break for Steve's mental angle. What is the best knife placement? I added a few more options based on people's comments on the last one about scissors, and people do both. People have the external one and the one in the pocket. Some people like to sync. So we had that. Nudity. This was a really common answer. Only when other group members agree it's okay. That was a write-in question, so I added that. Or write-in answer, so I added that. When throwing a throw bag, this is the same as last time. Where do you carry carabiners, press sticks, and pulleys? Which is kind of the same question as the where do you carry the safety kit, but I think this is more like smaller personal safety stuff. Is what I'm trying to get at. So, any thoughts about that before I move on?
Yeah, keep going.
Where do you carry your personal flip line? Tied to the side of your raft in a cute little bag, in a PFD pocket around your waist. I don't flip. Still the same. I added a question about NRS. I think you guys will like.
Is there an option? Their price? They don't. Well, wow. Ooh. I think they make high-priced river gear now. It seems like it's gone up a lot.
We'll add that. Makes
high-priced, low-quality river gear.
Priced rafting gear.
High-priced, whatever, average quality.
That. How dare you?
I think they're average. I think they're right in the middle. I don't think they're the best. I don't think they're the worst. But
what about just saying it's a great warehouse or great place to get?
Yeah, great. Yeah, Steve, that's a nice one too. It is true. It's a great option. We're lucky we have it.
A great place to get your river gear.
Yeah, offers a variety of
fantastic
options,
flip angles, and
a variety of quality.
River gear.
It's like that. Offers a variety of river gear.
Don't put quality in there.
Yes, I don't like where you're going with this. We're trying to get NRS to be a sponsor.
And that's why I'm adding that.
Yeah, that's a great place to get a variety of river gear. Well, what about this? Makes high quality river gear for the discerning whitewater paddler.
That's a great tagline for them, but I don't know that.
Yeah, this is good. I'll be curious to see what people say about them.
Yeah,
this has got a good variety.
Okay. Okay, this is in theory. If you had to choose just one of these items to bring with you rafting, which would it be? Steve, this goes back to our debate last time. The problem is so many people wrote in like, "How dare you ask this question?"
Because you should bring them all.
And so I added the answer for those people that says, I am unable to answer an interesting and thought-provoking theoretical question, just to get those out of the way, right? And for the rest of the people that could just answer like a theoretical, fun, what-if question to stir conversation, there's options for them too.
Can you repeat that question and ask which one they would... The first one they would not, well, I think it'll be obvious, but like you're asking which one they would bring. Is there a way to just say which one would you leave behind?
Ooh. If you had to,
like, we're gonna get the top and the bottom.
Make a second question.
If you had to leave behind one of these items, which would it be?
Yeah. So we're just gonna get the top and the bottom.
God, that's interesting. Good call.
The knife and the whistle.
You know, when you asked this question, Steve, do you remember what my answer was?
Yeah, I think you were into the throw bag, as I recall.
I was into the flip line. That was my first instinct. But the more I think about it, I think my answer is now throw bag.
Okay. Yeah. Aaron, what's yours?
Are we
influencing the...
Steve, you and I were the same.
We have no credibility. We're not going to influence anybody's answer.
Steve, we are the same.
Aaron, you can answer safely. You're not going to.
You both said knives.
We were both knives. We just discussed this. We were both knives.
And
Zach wanted a piece of string.
No. Steve answered knife.
Without a doubt.
Aaron just copied your answer.
I agreed with Steve. Yeah, I did. And
you didn't agree with Steve. You just didn't know what to do. Okay. Most of my boating experience, there were a lot of answers. So I broke this up.
Yeah.
And I said West Coast, East Coast. And that should actually be eastern U.S., western U.S. because it's not the coast; it's the half of the country.
Oh, Front Range of Colorado is different than the West Slope, huh? We're breaking Colorado. Colorado is that's the line there, huh? Like the Mason-Dixon.
Gets its own category.
Yeah, they're their own. What's the word? I don't know. I can't think of it. They're their own
region.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Region. Okay, a PFD safety harness. This is the same. I think it changed a little bit. Oh, an important tool for safety kayakers and kayak instructors. So I added that based on comments. Amplified music. This is actually, I remember this is what somebody told me once, that the amplified music is crucial for their personal health. And if they wore headphones, they wouldn't be able to respond to an emergency because they couldn't hear. So that actually could be an answer.
Sounds like it.
I mean, that sounds, I can't argue with that. I left Trucker Stitch in there. The pre-trip safety talk. I just broke down 2 options: breakaway method and tire bags and well.
Well, it's dependent upon the situation.
Okay, what's the situation?
I'm not saying I always use the breakaway method.
What's your situation?
It's situational.
What is your
when you're not running lead raft?
What if you just said, is there ever a situation? Is there ever a situation where Aaron's breakaway method would be
okay? When you're not running lead raft and it's pool drop
at
low water
at low water, what is your gear boat rigging philosophy? Oh, did I spell that right? What's that?
Yeah. Way better.
You're not running lead raft and it's pool drop at low water. What is your gear boat rigging philosophy?
What if you just did a yes/no? Is there ever a situation where Aaron's breakaway method is appropriate?
Yeah, that's even better.
It'll be. It's going to be.
Steve, that's a great
you're
one.
You're going to get. I think you're going to get wiped out, and that is if there is ever a situation.
Ever, I'm gonna write.
Steve,
ever.
This. You and I are in agreement on this one. I get wiped out. It should be Aaron and Steve's breakaway method. I'll let you in on it, Steve.
You're on your own.
I'm even capitalizing Aaron's breakaway method as
yeah, that's good. As if it's a thing.
Is a
it's appropriate.
Is appropriate.
And you got to break away. You got to get another A in there. You have breakaway.
Break. Oh, that's why there's a spelling problem. And so it's just yes. No. Got it. Okay.
And the other ones, I don't know what it is. There's gonna be I don't know what this means.
No, because I explained it up here. Barely, they got the explanation in the earlier questions. So they're still getting both questions.
Okay.
It's asking, what's your philosophy? And then is there ever a reason?
You have to capitalize Aaron's breakaway method in your first one.
Yeah, you gotta be consistent.
And then in the second one, you can just call it the ABM.
I'm just gonna in parentheses put that the ABM. Got it. Okay. So for water temperature at 50 degrees, what do you wear? I changed this because it does like a dry suit or a wetsuit. We didn't specify air temperature, which I can see that making a difference for comfort for sure. So I changed this a little bit. Helmets stayed the same. Shoes stayed the same. Should private trips have safety talks?
We got to think of a better name than safety talks, but we'll come back to it.
Pre-trip.
Well, I think a safety talk is a good question. And a pre-trip orientation.
Safety and information. How that? Should private trips have pre-trip safety and informational talks?
Yeah, good.
Discussions? Is this supposed to be a talk or a discussion?
We'll call them talk/discussions. How's that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Should private trips have a trip leader?
Yep.
Yes or no? On a multi-day trips, debrief should occur. This one I didn't know what to put. I think, Aaron, you had some thoughts about this last time. I didn't know how to mess with this one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah.
should debriefs occur? It's almost like on a regular basis. Like maybe change this to on. We had some tough answers this one. On a regular basis.
As needed.
At any time it's needed. And those are the options.
And then have a second one saying when asking when they should take place. If you are to have debriefs, when's the best time to take place?
Good idea. When is the best time to have a debrief?
Mm-hmm.
So the answers would be like in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Is it any time it's needed? Would that be the answer? Or at the time of a problem?
After an event.
After
post
an event. In the evening. Maybe one is like wait until after the trip is over.
After the trip's over.
Oh, I do that sometimes. Like I don't want to deal with this. I'll tell them later. It's not gonna make the trip better. It's just gonna make them defensive. The best color for a sun hoodie, Steve. Which one do you think won? By the way, in the original,
I think you should put camo.
Okay.
I would hope Who Cares won.
No.
Lighter color
one.
Yeah.
I would have thought you would have thought darker color because river guides would go darker color.
Because it doesn't show the dirt?
Yeah.
You don't have to wash it as often. That's a good point.
It's not that you don't have to wash it as often as much as you get stains.
Yeah.
Or like by day 3, it's dirty and you look pretty bad on day 3. The guides hopefully still wash their clothes. I changed this question a little bit about pirate trips by stating a private trip can be considered a pirate illegal trip by federal land managing agencies. When? So I added the by federal land managing agencies because I think people thought it was illegal for some other reason.
What you wanted to say by government land managing agencies?
Federal. So say federal government
or just say government because what if it's not managed by the feds?
Yep.
Do you still get in trouble?
Okay, got it. A pirate trip sorry. Guys, I'm working on reading things. I'm really bad at reading things.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're supposed to talk slower and enunciate more clearly.
Yes. A private trip can be considered a pirate illegal trip by government land managing agencies when...
Yeah.
Boy, Steve, everybody... I mean, we can look at this. On this one last time, we talked about this quite a bit. Let's see. It was... 45% said neither, 28% both, and 16% for people who pay less for their abilities, and then providing gear was only 1%, which was interesting.
Yeah.
So they agree with you.
If we're interpreting the answers correctly.
Well, I think people, what they considered a pirate trip versus... what they ethically considered it versus what it legally is considered. I think those are two separate things. I think we can all agree. Like, yeah, hey, you're bringing all the gear. I'll bring the food, and we'll, and so our costs will be even. And so it's, even though you own the gear, but you're supposed to share all the costs of the trip, which would include buying the food, even if you have gear, right, that you're bringing. Is that right, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, as I understand it, everybody has to pay the same amount financially, depending on whether you bring gear or not, or you bring experience.
But I think you're wrong.
Okay. You would.
I think you have to share the expenses equally.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
If everyone agrees that my skill can be assigned a value. And
you can't do that. You definitely can't do that.
No.
You definitely can't do that.
You can argue that whether you want or not. But I think it's maybe clearer to say that my equipment can provide a value. If we're going on a Grand Canyon trip, the three of us are going on a Grand Canyon trip, and I bring my own gear and you decide to rent from
Pro or something. Should you have to pay for our rentals?
I shouldn't have to pay for your rentals.
And I think, Steve, you can get away with
I should get the equivalent value for my providing the same thing. You didn't have to rent that. It wasn't a trip expense. There's no doubt in my mind that should be considered a legitimate shared trip expense. Especially when you can establish it so clearly that you went out and had to rent this equipment. I have my own equipment. I'm going to rent it to the trip. I'm going to provide that. I'm going to contribute that to the cost of the trip.
So Steve, when we go on our trip together, I'm going to bring my ratty old Sotar with no baffles and some, rigged up frame. Be like, all right, and like they're going to count it the same. Like, I agree with you. In theory, it should be that way, and I think you can get away with that. Like if we get a rogue launch and I take my raft up there and my brother rents a raft, I'm not going to help him pay for him to rent a raft. No, he just pays for his own raft. And I think that part, but then you just show up in your own raft. But it's like, if I were using that raft as well, then it's a different story. Or we rent a groover and he pays for the groover and I don't help pay for that. And we're all using that groover. I think it's personal gear versus common group gear. I think that's kind of delineation too, right? If it's gear for the entire group versus it's gear for certain people, like tent. Like, I'm not going to have to help pay for your tent. But if it's a kitchen and we're all using it together, that's a different story.
And if it's a raft that's carrying that equipment, wouldn't that move it out of the tent category?
Yeah, but everyone has their own raft. Yeah.
And that's another way to do the expenses would be that everybody brings their own raft.
Yeah. You pay individually for your raft, and we split the food and the shuttle.
But that's the point though, is like, if I brought all the rafts, I couldn't not pay for food then.
Yeah.
I should, like that's where it gets weird. Like,
or if I brought all the rafts, can I rent the rafts to people on the trip?
Amongst us, it would make sense to me if I were like, hey, Zach's bringing all the rafts. Cool. Steve, you and I will bring the food. We got the food and the drinks and that stuff. So we'll all bring something. And so we're all contributing. But I think when they look at it legally from like the managing agencies, that's not what they want to see.
And that's why I put this time government land managing agencies.
Their perspective on it is tricky.
And we got to be careful because we're right now interpreting
the
rules and we don't actually know the proper interpretation. So I would just want to say, like, if you're listening to this, don't take what we say and do it and then say, I heard this on Gear Garage. Because
go say that, but it doesn't. Yeah. It's
like
not
what we say now or what the best practices questionnaire comes out with the answer does not mean that's the answer. That's just what everybody voted on and what we're talking about. It will be interesting to get an agency representative on here and have these discussions with them to interpret this.
Yeah, that would be really neat. That's a great idea. That would be fun.
Someday when the show is really good, we're not just mediocre. Like we're finally adequate. We'll work on that.
I might actually have some contacts from when I wrote that article up because I did talk to some different people. And there, people were really willing to talk about it. It was actually interesting.
Yeah,
like the managing agencies, like Idaho, and stuff like that. They're very willing to say, "Yeah, this is the deal. This is how this works." And then there's some gray area, but you can get hammered. So, actually, that would be fun. That's a great idea. All right, what's next?
Let's move on. We're getting close to the end. Okay. What is your good luck river superstition? A lot of fun answers. Should we keep this one?
Yeah.
Should we keep it? You guys like it? Okay.
Yeah.
Short answer ones are kind of fun. Creature crafts are not for me, but fun to watch on YouTube because a lot of people wrote they're great for social media. So we'll try to identify how many people feel that way about them.
Okay.
How long? Kept that one in there. The best, I changed this one instead of saying the best boat for the best safety boat. The best tool for downstream safety is just good boating, safety kayaks, safety cataracts, throw bags. So I changed this question a little bit. So we'll see what people say.
It'd be cool. Can you do a ranked order question where they put them in the order they think number 1 through 4? Can they do ranked order?
Let's see. It gets messy. Checkboxes drop down, linear scale, multiple choice grid, checkbox grid. What is it?
It doesn't look like it.
Oh, here we go. Like this. I think you have to. Wait.
Yeah, no, it's not like you could just like put them in order or something like that. It'd be fun. Yeah, don't worry. It's a great way it is. Yeah.
The river signal for stop. I changed this a tiny bit just to clean up some of the language. Spare oars should be generally stored. Man,
what's this signal?
First aid.
Arms.
No,
I'll add that too.
Isn't that stop?
I'll answer that question in a second, but let me.
There you go up high.
Arms crossed in front.
Or like this. Or is it like this?
That's Italian first aid.
So I like to say that this is first aid, but a lot of people say this is stop.
That's what I thought.
It would depend on the context. I mean, a lot of the stop signal depends on context. If I'm just looking back and I'm in the middle of the river and I just do this, you're going to know that means stop. If I'm huddled over somebody on the ground, you're going to know that's first aid. So I think that it could depend on context, but I think officially, if you read Bill McGinnis's River Signals book, which you can buy on Amazon for $9.95, I think he says this is first aid. I'll have to look. Wait, is the book here?
I have a copy of it.
Yep.
I'll be right back.
I mean, Bill McGinnis's book is the gold standard for river signals. So we'll have to check and see, but we'll see. We'll also see what people think.
It's in this one too, right?
That's not the official treatise. Am I saying that word right? Treatise. That's not the official treatise on river signals, but if it's in there, it's correct. Okay.
Yeah, they've got good run, excellent, all that stuff in here.
Okay. All right. That's good.
Yeah.
Handle forward, blade. So spare oars. Handle forward. I think one handle. Well, not handily, but let's see.
Yeah. See the cross. It's first aid.
That's a different cross. That's this cross.
That's this cross. This first aid.
Cross.
He does see if he does it the hand in front the way we do it.
What about this?
Yeah.
Aaron, is this in there? Aaron, I do this to you all the time when we're boating.
What does he say for stop? What does the book say for stop?
Spare oars.
He puts the paddle out with two hands. I'm not seeing anything crossed angled.
Blade forward.
He's got like 10 pages of these things. Like, I don't know. I wonder, like you had to, man, it keeps going.
There's a whole book about it.
And it's all in here, it looks like, because there's over 10 pages, 11, 12. I'm at 12 pages of it right now. So there's probably one in here.
We'll find the answer for stop so people can know the answer before they fill this out. Anyway, so I did spare oars. I added
holding the paddle sideways. But I thought stop's one hand up like this.
Which is the same as the arms out thing.
Yeah, arms out. Yep.
So when I'm kayaking, it's paddle over your head like this. You just put your paddle at that stop. If you don't have a paddle, it's like that. If you have a paddle, it sounds like you do the paddle. That is a way to say stop.
So he has yes in here. And he has
no in here. All right.
Glad we got that figured out.
Yeah. So I got spare oars, flipping an oar back over. I'm not gonna. We'll get to that one later. Flip lines should be carried by people that know how to use them. Everyone, why bother when you can buy flipped angles from NRS? Again, trying to support our sponsor and getting people to buy more things from them. Not our sponsor. Our sponsor is riverhardware.com, who recommends you go to riverstation.com.
Why don't you have a link in there to the flip angles so people can just purchase it straight away?
Can I add a link?
Oh, can you add links? If you can hyperlink, that'd be amazing.
That would be cool. This is the one that might be controversial, but I really put a lot of time into trying to get this one right about the best way to learn how to row. Steve, Aaron and I just hammered this hard last week.
Isn't there the answer is obvious to me?
I mean, it's obvious to, I think, the entire world, but
yeah, it is, right?
I mean, Aaron is going to say
why isn't there take a Northwest Rafting Rowing School? Why doesn't it say that?
Well, because there's a lot of rowing schools. You can have different.
Well,
rowing
there's a lot of
schools to
guide
choose
schools.
from.
Like Tall Guide School, just one of them. You might as well have. You should.
That's
have
why there's an option. Raft Guide School. There is a
Yeah,
general.
you should
raft
have a
guide
separate
school.
one. Take Zach's Northwest Rafting Guide School.
So what I take Zach.
Zach doesn't have a Northwest Rafting Guide School.
Northwest Rafting Rowing School.
West Rafting Company Rowing School taught by Steve.
Don't do that.
Oh, wait, no, come on.
Aaron, is there still a Lake Tahoe Community College Guide School?
Yeah, I'm teaching
Oh,
it. Thanks for
burn.
asking, Steve.
Burn.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of spaces still available. If you want to do something, come on up.
Where are you teaching it?
We've been doing really on the South Fork and North Fork the last few years. We'll see this year with the high water.
Aaron, before I make fun of you, these are pro locks.
Oh, that looks scary.
Okay, so check this out, Steve. If you Google Lake Tahoe Community College Raft Guide School, you get discounted courses, and then when you go find the course,
what's the first? Oh, first one is my thing. Yeah,
this is all you need to know.
That's the beginning course. That's not the right course.
Got it. So if I want to find information on the right course, where do I go?
Yeah, you don't go anywhere. It's not online. It is online. You got you got to find it. It's super cheap. It's like $300, but you got to earn it. We just don't let anyone find it. You got to be in the know about this because it's like the cheapest, best course you can take for nothing. It's like so ridiculously
cheap.
It's
an admissions threshold.
Yeah,
you got to exactly. You got to be able to navigate government bureaucracy to do it, and it's painful, and that's why it's only $300 because you got to deal with all that. But once you do, it's worth it. So,
okay, well, we're about to find out if that's the best way to learn how to row. You don't row in the course.
Well, I think exactly. You need to put Northwest Rafting School to see if I get more votes or Northwest Rafting School gets more votes.
You're not going to get any votes, Aaron.
Well, Zach, if you're confident, you're going to get some. Put yours down there. If you're confident,
I don't. Aaron, I don't. If you get any votes, you win.
10-1. Give him a 10-1 advantage.
Yeah,
multiplier.
Perimeter. I'm not here to promote my schools. Although we do have space in one of our schools right now. We just opened up a new school. So
I'll guarantee you we're going to get some votes. I know some people who watch this who went through our program, and I know they'll vote for us.
And they really honestly going to say the best way to learn how to row is in your guide school. Okay. Cool.
Totally.
I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get some votes. We're getting a lot of votes, Zach.
Cool. No, I'm super excited for that. And then finally, perimeter lines. I changed this a little bit. I added a should be mandatory only if they can be kept tight based on our conversations last week. Aaron, does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, that sounds great. What do you have one about the primary purpose of a throw bag?
No, but I can add one.
I think that'd be a good question.
Let me copy this one. So the primary.
What
is the primary purpose? Okay.
For you for an individual, for them, like I don't know how you'd word that. For you, what do you see as the primary purpose of a throw bag for you? Yeah. Like I don't know how you'd word that. What's the primary
reason you carry a throw bag? You bring a throw bag.
Yeah, what's the primary reason you carry a throw bag? There we go.
So some of the obvious ones, rescue swimmers.
Hunker down.
What does that mean? Oh, playing games in camp?
Yeah.
What do they call the
drying your clothes in camp?
Tying your boat to shore when there was no better anchors.
If anchors are far away. I'll just say trees. Obvious. Away.
Lining rafts.
Getting a line to a pinned raft.
Well, I would say the rescue swimmers, I think there's two different things. Rescuing swimmers who are floating in the river versus rescuing swimmers who are stuck on a rock.
Rescuing swimmers floating in the river, and then rescuing. They're not swimmers if they're on a rock, but
Stranded.
Rescuing stranded swimmers.
Stranded rafters or
stranded people.
Stranded swimmers on rocks. They're not going to understand if you don't say like on a rock or something.
Okay. On rocks. How about hanging bear bags?
Mm-hmm.
What else? Can you think of anything else? Oh, Z-Drags, baby. Raft. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, are there any others?
I'm sure there are, but I'm sure we're missing something really good.
Yeah, well, this one is probably going to have to be repeated because there's going to be some great answers. I'm like,
3.0.
Well, I worry we're going to have to do a 3.0. I worry a little bit, but I spent a lot of time on this week trying to really flesh these questions out. So I think 2.0 is going to be pretty good. So
there's a good suggestion for a question from Becky.
Okay.
What is your favorite river? To ask at the top. When you ask those general questions.
Oh, like fill it in.
Yeah, fill in the blank. What's your favorite river?
Ooh, I like that. How do I add a question? What is your favorite river? Should we just make a short answer text?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then, can I ask another question? Just out of curiosity for the data that we're going to sell to
NRS.
To the Chinese.
Sell to NRS. No, NRS. Oh, basically that is the Chinese.
What's the optimum group size for a private trip?
Oh, are we going to ask that? That's more like opinion.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Oh, come on. Yeah, that's fun, but group size.
Because Zach doesn't want that. You know why Zach doesn't want it? Because he runs 30-person trips.
Oh, come on, Aaron. Ouch.
If you're going to ask what your favorite river is, you can certainly ask what's your optimum private or just group size for a multi-day trip.
And if you want that, let's say, what's your favorite river craft?
Oh, geez. Oh, that's actually, I don't mind that one. Well, we kind of asked that. I'm primarily a commercial guide. Okay, hold on. So
no, it's different. What's your favorite river craft is totally different. Like because 12-foot raft or boat, like just free response.
Is this a write-in? Is this free response?
Just write in.
Okay, hold on.
It'll be messy. I mean,
I just have to add the word craft. Okay. Short answer text. Because we could get like, what is, or should I just ask, what is your favorite? Okay, like 16-inch to Moravia that's red, blah, 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 blah.
I'll think if we get 200, it'll be ridiculous, but yeah.
The more detail, the better. How about that?
Yeah, it's not gonna be helpful, but maybe we'll get some funny answers in there. Yeah. And I think Steve's like, what's your optimal length?
It's a mental angle question, Zach.
Okay, is this a multiple choice question or open-ended?
No, you can make it multiple choice.
Okay, that I can do. Let me duplicate this one.
6 or fewer.
What is your optimal river trip group size?
Yeah.
Group size for a multi-day multi-day trip.
And you got to have solo on there.
Oh.
Solo.
Okay. You got to have the solo.
You got to have I don't do multi-day trips because we're going to get some weird comments if we don't do this. Trips. And what are the other options?
I'd say 2 to 4 people.
2 to 6.
2 to 6. Okay, yeah.
Let's make it a little bit bigger. 2 to 6.
Okay.
7 to 12. Then you guys can do the math on.
And then 12 plus.
13 to
whatever.
20.
13 to, let's just say 13 whatever. Yeah, okay.
No. Because now you got to.
Now you got to go all the way to 30 now. 21 to 30.
Yeah, sounds good.
Who cares?
You can't really do above 30. I mean, you can, but it's pretty hard.
Okay.
People. Okay. Any other questions you guys can think of? I mean, the longer we make this, the more likely people are to fill it out. So we got to be careful going too crazy because if they see it's going to take them an hour to do, they're not going to fill it out. But that's easy. That's easy to click. Let's leave it there. Okay. So that everybody knows, oh, look, riverhardware.com, our sponsor of the show. Please go to riverhardware.com for things like throw bags, cups, t-shirts, used Sawyer spinnies, River Hardware.
Zach, are you out of throw bags again, or do you still have some?
There's a few left.
All right, sorry, I got to take
There's
this.
a few left. Okay, how do we mute Aaron? I don't want to hear his phone call. So just to close up, this has been under best practices questionnaire. This is the old best practices questionnaire right here. In like 10 minutes when we're done with this, the new one will show up and people can answer it here pretty soon. So this is the old one. As soon as we get done with the show, I'm going to put the new one up and we'll start collecting data, which is really fun to see, actually. Really fun to learn about. Guys, there are a lot of comments. I'm not sure if I want to go through all these. Oh, Death Angle Whitewater, what's up? Dude, welcome to the show. Why not use the phrasing class 405? Well, I think we already answered that. But I don't know if we have time to go through all this stuff, but we appreciate all the comments and hopefully you guys have had. Hey, look at that.
Aaron, your class only has one spot left.
Yeah. He doesn't, he's going to go double check on it somehow, I guess. MRP 23, that is on our boats. That stands for Medford Recreational Permit. And that just signifies that that's Northwest Rafting Company's identifier on our rafts. So every company on the Rogue has a different MRP number. And that's ours. What was ours, Steve?
MRP 1.
You only had one MRP?
And 53.
53. Yeah. MRP 1 is the big one, I'm guessing. And
MRP 50, MRP 23, MRP 1, MRP 50, all of them are bureaucracy. The government required commercial outfitters to put that on their boat because they didn't think having it say Northwest Rafting Company would be sufficient enough of an indicator as to who held that permit.
It does say our name, but we get in trouble if it doesn't have our number.
You have to have both.
You don't have to have both. You only have to have the MRP. You don't have to have your name.
Okay.
You just, which is ridiculous. You should be able to have either. It's pretty obvious, but I think it goes back though to drift boats.
Right.
Because they don't have their name.
Boats. Yeah.
And they just slapped MRP on the side. I think that's kind of why they do it. Any questions you guys want to get to any of these? Safety talk versus safety brief. Yeah. Flip line in the gas bar bag is around my waist. Your answer assumes old style wrapped around waist. I don't understand that one. But guys, we've been on this.
So he's saying his flip line is in his gas bar bag around his waist. So his flip line is around his waist. So so you got to be careful about how you're asking it because you're going to get your data is not going to be so in a waist throw bag.
So this question is
where do you carry your flip line?
Your flip line. And so where is that one? Oh, here we go. So we'll add.
I would just say in a pocket. I just say in a pocket. Just put it in a pocket, and then that covers everything, right?
How about on a waist belt, like Batman?
Oh.
Okay. You know what I love is that people took the our last questionnaire and they responded back to me. They're like, "That was funny, thank you." And so, I don't know, making it funny makes it more palatable to spend 10 minutes doing it. So I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm just trying to make it fun and enjoyable.
It's fun because it's a test you actually don't have to worry about your answers on. You're not going to, there's minimal stress. It's like whatever. It's most of it's opinions.
It's not even a test. It's more like we just want to see. We want to see how people feel to help us make decisions in a way. We're a survey, not a test. We're surveying everybody to see what the general boating community feels about certain things.
I think it would be interesting when we go through the results, if you have the time or we can figure out a way to do it, to order them in the ones where there's clear consensus and where there's more debate, like things that are 50-50 or things that are split equally might be more interesting to discuss than things that are like, oh, everybody already agrees that a throw bag is the best, whatever. Like can you sort the results by percentage? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, interesting. The data analysis here is not awesome. So
Right.
I can export this as an Excel spreadsheet. And if I was good at that kind of thing, I could go super nerdy. And I know, weren't you a data sciences major, Steve? You know how you said you were a German major the other day?
It was German data.
Okay. I kind of remember there being you had a major in data science management or something.
Yeah, that's no, I'm not. But I could probably
You're good at that kind of thing.
Probably figure out how to sort things. There was someone who commented that they would be willing to do that for us, and it might be worth it to include a professional. So look back through your comments towards the beginning. Someone said
if someone wants the data and wants to do some analysis, I will happily send you the data.
There's a comment.
Happily. All right.
Someone who said that we should do it multiple years. Dan.
All right. Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be interesting, but yeah, like do it a year later and see what happens.
Yeah, but it would also be different just to take this data right now and see where there's consensus and see where there's conflict.
Well, we're going to find out. That's the exciting thing. Like, we're going to, when we get the data, we're going to get something that looks like this. And it's super interesting. And actually, Aaron and I did this last week. It put Aaron to sleep. But going through the subtleties in all of the writing,
they're really interesting. We just did too many of them. And I started to fall asleep.
Yeah, maybe we need to do like half 1 week, half.
Aaron has a baby.
The questions get so long.
His sleeping habits are not.
We could also do one per week.
Like, that would take forever. How many questions are there?
I don't know. There's like 30. We could, or like 2 a week. We could limit ourselves because we went on some crazy tangents.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have do a handful. Maybe like if there's 30, like we should be able to cover like maybe 5 to 10 a week or something, or we limit how much time we'll spend on it.
We just do it until Aaron's first yawn.
Oh God. Yeah, there we go. That's perfect. Does rubbing my eyes like this count when it looks like that? Like I'm doing that?
You're getting there right now. You're getting real close.
Yeah.
The last thing is, hey, this is Boatsmith is next weekend when the boating community converges on the Smith River to celebrate the Smith River boating and friendship. And it's looking like a low water Boatsmith. Aaron, do you remember what is projected to be around 2,000 at Jet Smith?
Ooh.
Do you have any suggestions for where people should go boating when the Smith is at 2,000?
I think anytime you can scrape your way down the North Fork and you have a craft that you can do it, you do the North Fork.
What would be a craft to scrape your way down the North Fork of low water? What would that look like?
I think like a light R2 boat or something like that, like just light boats, like light, smaller boats, just not, putting a lot of people in them and just getting an early start. But that place is just so spectacular. But then the gorges are always good, but they're challenging. So the Oregon Hole Gorge and South Fork Gorge, they always have water in them. And then after that, it gets a little tricky, doesn't it?
I mean, I think North Fork, you can do super low. I think going light is key. The gorges get a little more dangerous. I just want to make that point. At lower water, there's some sieves in there and some siphons. And it gets flippier.
There's an easy place on the South Fork Gorge where people downstream flip a lot in that one. There's this one move where multiple times people have downstream flipped there. I still don't know how they do it, but somehow.
So that's a week away. And the good news about Boatsmith is we get so much great carnage footage afterwards. I can't wait to go through the carnage footage that people post from Boatsmith. Yeah. So it's really a highlight of our year when Boatsmith happens, so we can get the carnage footage. But just those of you going, just be careful. Like these low flows, the gorges get more dangerous. If you've done the gorges before, they're a little harder, a little more dangerous at these lower levels. And we've done the North Fork pretty low together, Aaron. I don't remember how low, but
I remember just scraping down until you got down to
Pretty
Diamond
low.
Creek. And
Yeah.
once you get to Diamond Creek, it gets better. But I think the biggest problem is just making miles. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and move in. It's a long day to begin with. So, but I mean, maybe you camp out there. I don't know.
An overnight on North Fork Smith would be amazing.
Wouldn't it?
But it's supposed to rain, so it's gonna be low water and rainy. So
low water and rainy.
Yeah, kind of like a double punch in the knee, but that's how it is. So, well, should we shut this down, gentlemen?
Yeah, let's do it.
Aaron, do you want to do your world famous closing?
My world famous closing. Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in. Sorry I missed the first half of the show. Hopefully it went well without me. Show next Tuesday, Zach?
Yeah, we already have 2 questions.
Oh, all right. So show on Tuesday, and then we'll be back again Friday. Hey, Wind River footage is always threatening. So we haven't really had any. Have we had anyone sending us any footage in a while? I feel like it's been a while.
Lots of questions, no footage. But
lots of questions.
Aaron, I have like 6 videos we got to catch up on. Maybe next week we get back to video review because I have some good ones for video review.
Sounds good. If you haven't hit that like button, subscribe, and then do all those crazy things. If you're listening to us on Apple, whatever, give us a high five or whatever it is on all those things you do. Rate and review, rate and review wherever you are. And are you up to 10,000 followers yet, Zach?
It's like 9,350. We're getting there.
Oof. Yeah. I feel like we kind of plateaued out there.
We have, November through February is pretty brutal for YouTube channels about rafting. So hopefully it picks up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys, thanks again. And Steve, good to see you as always.
Good to see you guys.
And Aaron, one more thing.